On the regular meeting of the Common Council, City of Oneonta, where this is May 21st, 2024, it's at 6:03.
Mayor Brennan.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Walsh Russo. Here. Councilmember Luther. Here. Councilmember LaCurcio. Councilmember Carson.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Matheson.
Here. Luke, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. And we have a public hearing before the Common Council to receive comments on operating permits for fraternity, sorority organizations located at 56 Maple Street and 61 Elm Street. And I'll open the floor to petitions. Is there anyone who wants to speak on the subject? If you introduce yourself, tell me where you live. Yes, are you going to say it? Yeah. Yes, and you can either stand there or at the podium, your choice.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick. I don't live at 56 Maple, but I'm part of the fraternity at 56 Maple.
Nick, what's your last name?
Nick Ferrone.
Thank you.
Nicholas Ferrone, sorry.
Okay.
So we're seeking the special use permit. We believe we do a lot for the community. Every Sunday, not every Sunday, almost every Sunday, we go around, we go from Maple down to Main Street, down Main over to around Market Street, clean up trash for the weekends, because as you guys know, it's college town. We clean up a little bit of trash, cans, whatever's on the sidewalks. We've done a lot of work with the shelter, animal shelter. We've done a lot of work. We collected cans, we donated a bunch of cans, around 200 canned goods. We've done car washes, and we donated money to local charities. There's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, there's lots of work for the community. Try to get involved as much as we can. At home, I'm a volunteer firefighter, and here a lot of our motto, our maxim is the great joy of serving others. So I want to continue that here. And I believe I do a good job. The whole fraternity does a good job helping out the community as much as we can.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Again, your name and your address, and we did a good job keeping it to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, my name is Christian Smiley. I live at 61 Elm. I'm representing Tau Kappa Epsilon. We're also seeking a special use permit. We do a lot of work for the community. This year we surpassed 500 hours of community service, over $1,000 raised for St. Jude. We do a lot of work with the Otsego County ARC, the VFW. We did a campus clean this year. We raised money with a fundraiser we call Piety, and we also we did a lot of work. Raising money for the homeless.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have we anybody else who would like to speak? Well, if we've no one else to speak on the subject, then we'll call this public hearing closed. And we'll move on to our petitioners and our correspondence. And again, for our petitioners, you may either stand where you're sitting, or you may use the podium. If you have any paperwork that you'd like the council to see, just pass it to Don. He'll make certain that it gets moved around. And I have these little signs that very few people see because you're reading speeches, but I have a sign that says 2 minutes, I have a sign that says 1 minute, I have a sign that says 30 seconds, and I have that tells you you're at the 3-minute mark. I'm not going to catch you off then, but wrap it up, because that'll be louder. Okay, so with that, we'll move into our petitioners, and is there anybody who'd like to address the council? Yes, and again, name and address. And
Hello, my name's Frederick Rantz. You guys can call me Rick. Pass those down, hopefully there's enough. So, I have lived in the Otsego County all my life. I've been a homeowner in the city of Oneonta for 18 years and a resident of Ward 1. My wife Jill and I have 2 children who attend the Oneonta City School District. I am a small business owner of Inner Circle Computers located in Oneonta's First Ward, which I started from the ground up in 2009. I could and would be of help to the city of Oneonta. As a resident of the First Ward on Forest Ave, I pledge to serve the people in the city of Oneonta with integrity and enthusiasm. I am looking forward to working with the mayor and the common council on all topics that need to be addressed. We as a whole can make the city of Oneonta a better place for our residents, visitors, and those who come here to our city for education. I ask the mayor and the common council members to consider me as the First Ward council person. The mayor and the council can trust me to work together on public safety, business growth, economic development, resulting in good paying jobs and making the city of Oneonta a vibrant place to live and work. There are many other issues that need addressing as a council, and I pledge to be a leader for the First Ward and the city of Oneonta. Thank you for your time and consideration in placing me as the First Ward councilman.
Thank you very much, Rick. Have we, anybody else who would like to address the council? Yes.
Should I go over?
You can stand there if you'd like to.
Bill Shue, 14 Parish Avenue, Oneonta. It's good to be here. Thank you for your work, council people, and thank you to the staff. I appreciate all your work. In the 90s, there was a vacancy created on the city council under Mayor Brenner. Mayor Brenner was upfront. He was very personal. You knew for sure of how this thing was going to play out because he talked to the people of the 6th Ward. He came down, he visited, he got to know people even better. And then he made his choice. But the 6th Ward people had a lot to say. I know for sure, because I was there. What I'm saying, I guess, to you and to the staff is going to a small group of people and announcing your pick ahead of time before you have even approached the council doesn't involve trust and confidence. Mayor Brenner had that trust and confidence because he was upfront with us. He asked us, he spoke with us, he questioned both people interested in the job to great detail and in front of other 6th Ward people. I play golf. I'm not going to tell you what I scored today, but it was good. The organizers of the league tell everybody in the league the same thing at the same time in person. The council was not informed ahead of time, but the public was. A newspaper article was printed. It was printed even before some of you even knew what the pick was. That's not being honest and open. It's a political game. And I'm asking you to put Rick Rantz in there. The people of First Ward know him. He's a business person. He can offer a lot for economic development. I know Rick. I've known him since he was probably 10 years old. He's an honest, forthright person. He can do the job. I think you need to have a little time to question him and question Elaine and then come to a consensus. I don't think that's happened. And I know for sure that you have wisdom. You've been given wisdom and it's been shown. The staff has been given wisdom and it's been shown. So I'm asking you to hold off. That's what I'm asking you. Just hold off. Get to know them. Get to know the ins and outs. Get to know them, what they stand for. In economic development, business growth, downtown development, you name it. How do they stand on finances? Jenny would like to know. Let her know. Let her sit down and talk with you. And she will tell you, and she will ask you. But I think the council needs more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else that'd like to address the council? Yes.
My name is Stacy Mitchell. I'm a resident of the First Ward. at 9 Hickory Street. I would just like to give support for Elaine as the nominee for the first district. She's, I believe, proven herself as an activist that has the best interest of the citizens in the first district at heart. She's engaged in social issues that are important to the city, including healthcare, primarily in her role here as not just a resident, but an engaged person who is involved in the health issues of this community. So I think there has been thought going into her nomination, and I support it.
Thank you very much. Have we, anybody else who would like to address the council? Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to close the petitioner's portion of this meeting and we'll move to our correspondence.
An email from Doug Kendall. Dear Mayor Drenick and members of the Common Council, I understand that there is an impending vacancy on the Common Council in the First Ward. I also understand that Rick Rance of 26 Forest Avenue is interested in filling this position. I've known Rick for 10 years, since his son began playing Little League Baseball for the team I have coached for most of the past 20 years. Initially a supportive parent, Rick joined our coaching staff the following season and continued to volunteer his time as a coach and manager throughout Ryan's time at Oneonta Little League. His positive attitude and coaching skills helped mentor many of our young athletes during those years. In addition, Rick sponsored a team in our summer league for several years through his business, Inner Circle Computers, which afforded dozens of young people the chance to continue playing after the quote-unquote regular season. I value the assistance Rick provided as a coach, manager, and sponsor of Oneonta Little League. I know that he has been involved in other civic organizations in addition to Little League, notably the Oneonta Masonic Lodge. Having observed many meetings of council, its committees, and other city boards and commissions during my time as city clerk and as a citizen, I feel Rick would make a strong positive contribution to council. As a longtime resident of the First Ward with his family, I am confident Rick will represent the interests of his fellow First Ward residents effectively. I urge you to appoint Rick Rance to represent his ward on the council. I would have been delighted to deliver these remarks in person. However, I am still coaching youth baseball and my team is playing at Murphy Field this evening. If you haven't been down to the field this year yet, I invite you to come and see how Oneonta Cal Ripken Babe Ruth League is serving 300 local children in baseball, softball, and t-ball this spring. Thanks for your consideration, Doug Kendall, 59 Spears Street. To Mayor Drenick and Common Council members, regarding Rick Rance's candidacy for the vacant First Ward Common Council seat. Dear Mayor Drenick and Common Council members, I am writing to endorse Rick Rance as the best candidate for the vacant First Ward Common Council vacancy. I have known Rick for well over a decade and have seen firsthand his care and concern for the well-being of the community in which we live in. He was born and raised in the greater Oneonta area and is dedicated to making the place we live better for everyone of all creeds. I have known Rick since 2008, and throughout these years he has shown great leadership, reliability, integrity, and an uncanny ability to go above and beyond. Whether at work or doing things for the community outside his usual vocation, Rick always puts his best effort into what he is doing. He prides himself on his reputation for going above and beyond expectations. When Rick served the Masonic Lodge as its leader for his year term, they were in need of someone to fill the role after his term was over, and Rick did not hesitate to fill the seat for another full year. He now faithfully serves as a trustee for the Oneonta Masonic Lodge, putting himself fiscally responsible for the success of our members. Rick has grown his business through hard work and dedication over the last 2 decades. He puts forth that same focus and energy in all he does. He will surely do the same as a member of the Common Council. Rick will also represent First Ward well as his business is located here. He has made it his home for over a decade and created a sense of unity among the residents in our close-knit community. When my wife and I moved on to East End Avenue, it gave us great comfort knowing someone like Rick lived 2 blocks away. As a resident of the First Ward, I have utmost confidence in Rick's ability to represent our community interests fully and professionally as a member of the Common Council. He will surely listen to the voice of the community and act in the best interest of all the diverse members of our community. He has shown time and time again that he is willing and capable of handling important roles, such as this seat on the council. I encourage you to give him your full consideration. Respectfully, Travis J. Hartwell. To the mayor and City of Oneonta Common Council members, we are writing to give our support for Rick Rance for Oneonta Common Council for Ward 1. We have a house on East End Ave. I have known Rick for many years, both as a friend and a brother Mason. Rick has had leadership roles within the Masons taking care of Lodge business. He also has a successful business with computers and security. Rick will be a good leader and will represent our board well. Doug and Cindy Makenberg. Similar, different authors, but similar content. I just wanted to make sure I apologize. Dear Mayor Drenick and Common Council members, I am writing to enthusiastically endorse Rick Rance as the best candidate for the vacant First Ward Common Council vacancy. Having known Rick for well over a decade, I have had the privilege of witnessing Rick's unwavering dedication to our beloved community. I have known Rick since 2010, and throughout these years, he has consistently demonstrated integrity, reliability, and a profound commitment to the betterment of our neighborhood and community. Rick possesses a rare quality. When he makes a promise, he not only fulfills it, but exceeds expectations. Whether it's his invaluable contributions to coaching Little League, his selfless volunteer work with the Masons Lodge, or his steadfast support of local business, Rick's actions speak volumes of his genuine concern for our community's welfare. What truly sets Rick apart is an unwavering belief in the power of inclusivity and diversity. He recognizes the strength of our community lies in its diversity, and his efforts to foster a welcoming environment for all residents is commendable. He is a true advocate for building a community that embraces individuals from all backgrounds, and his inclusive approach to leadership will help to foster a sense of unity among our residents, creating a stronger, more vibrant community for all of us. As a resident of the First Ward, I have full confidence in Rick's ability to represent our community's interests effectively and professionally on the Common Council. His proven track record of leadership, integrity, and dedication make him the ideal candidate for this extremely important role. I urge you to give him your full consideration. Respectfully, Tracy Hardwell.
Okay. All right, well, that takes us to the end of the correspondence, and with that, it is my pleasure to be mayor in this moment where I can recognize one of Oneonta's great employees. And I'm going to make my way round to the front here. Well, I'm going to ask Lou Lansing, yes, that's you do that, to make your way to meet me, and we'll try not to trip over the cables. So, those who don't know Lou Lansing, is there a person in this room who doesn't know Lou Lansing? Let's first of all have a hand, let's have a hand for Lou Lansing. Still wasn't enough. I gotta tell you, team players, team is, is a cliche around me. This is what a team player looks like. Part-time, how many people know that she's only part-time? You would never know it, right? I mean, it's hard because you're always available. Somebody calls at whatever time, because they didn't call the right number, but they got a hold of you. You've always been there for them. And then things like the Wilbur Park Master Plan. Where would that be without your input? And you're really, honestly, your fingerprints all over it. The nets, what do you get, like portable net? I gotta go to my cheat sheet. The nets are portable, yeah. But portable nets for Wilbur Park, that was because of your recommendation. The Niwa tennis turned to pickleball courts, that's because of you. And apparently the Lascaris room, it's never going to be the same without your get-togethers there. I got to be a party to a couple of them, not enough of them. But beyond that, the summer concert series, and the summer concert series is now, I mean, it's an institution in Oneonta. And then the kids' movies. Yeah. I mean, and to see Lou out there, I mean, it could be raining, it could be cold, it could be miserable, because that's typically when we schedule our concerts, right?
but she's out there and she's just, I mean, and there's nobody, especially with showing kids movies, there's nobody who's enjoying those movies more than you. Maybe. The dog park, when you talk about the dog park, maybe the dog park is only beaten out in terms of public, perception about Oneonta by the pickleball court.
Right.
Both of those, world class, and that came from somebody who is world class. And so I have presented to Louise Lou Lansing in grateful recognition of your many years of dedicated service to the city of Oneonta, its residents, and its visitors, May 21, 2024. We're gonna get and she's going to kill me, but this is the moment where I'm going to say, "Is there something you'd like to say?"
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Everything that's been accomplished is because of the team, not because of Lou Lansing. Thank you.
And that's it, you can all go home. All right, what else do we have? We have, Susan Lettuce is here to bring us a deer management update. Thank you very much for being here, Susan.
Sure. So just a little bit of an update. I was appointed last November, so I've been trying to just keep our plan moving forward. Last summer, council voted on and adopted this deer management plan. It should be in your packet. So we're, working through stage one. We've done some education through public outreach, the most recent being at Earth Day Festival. We had a table there, we had some plants there so people could see some examples of plants that deer do not eat. So we're working on the public education. Also, the deer exclosures are out. I encourage everyone to walk through Wilbur Park. There's 3 of them, and those will be interesting to watch over the next few years. We have the deer nuisance reporting tool that's now up and running, and now we have enabled it to be able to accept photos, so people can upload a photo if they want to, and we've had some good feedback through that. The next stage that the council really needs to act on is the DMAP program, so the Deer Management Assistance Program. It's the first sort of round of extra permits that a municipality or somebody can apply for to try to encourage hunting and increase hunting on specific parcels of land. So in order to do that, so the deadline for that is August 1st. In order to do that, council needs to go through the seeker review process, or a municipality needs to go through that process. To me, it makes sense for this council to declare itself the lead agency, thank you. So I'm hoping that council will do that this evening. Then we need a 30-day window to inform other municipalities of this so they can step in if they want to. And then you go through the seeker process. You'd be reviewing the entire deer management plan that you've already adopted. Maybe this could have been done last summer when you adopted the plan. I don't think it's, harmful that, we've waited, but, so you're basically doing a seeker on the whole plan. For the DMAP process, we had to identify basically some boundaries. So I'm suggesting that sort of be defined as any property within the city, private or city-owned. I'm trying to be inclusive, okay? So it's easier to be inclusive than to try to be too picky to begin with. Any property within 1,000 feet of city boundaries, any city-owned property within the town of Oneonta, and if the edge of any parcel is within 100 feet, the entire parcel's, or 1,000 feet of the city boundaries, then the entire parcel's included. So we've sort of set that stage for the seeker process, and I think that includes anything that we would want to be working on in the future. So just August 1st is the deadline for DMAP. I don't think I have anything else. If anybody has any particular, questions, I'm happy to try to answer them now.
Let me open up to council for questions. Does anyone have a question?
Susan, thank you for coming tonight, appreciate the report. With regards to the seeker, did you talk to our city attorney about this?
I touched base
I didn't know that
with,
we could be the lead agency on another municipality's property.
well,
David, you wanted to check?
Yeah, it's, what we're doing is we're adopting the authority regarding parcels that we're gonna be covering as far as the seeker is concerned. So we can't, the questions adjacent parcels, things of that nature, the simple answer is, yes, we can. We can be the lead agency as far as the applications, and we're trying to cast as wide a net as possible for the implication. Because it occurs within 500 feet of another agency, another municipality, we have to give them notice of everything we're doing anyway, and we're also giving them, the application to become lead agency has a 30-day window on it, and we're obligated to notify any other agency that might have interest in it. So we're also going to notify DEC, because they have the legal authority to take the lead agency on this. We'll also contact the town, see if they want to take lead agency on this. So we're involving all municipalities that will be impacted by it. So then they can either approve or disapprove, and if they do nothing, then 30 days we would become lead agency for the secret process.
Thank you for that clarification, because I think you mentioned something about 1,000 feet off of our borderline, so obviously that invites into the town of Oneonta, and I would hope that we would at least reach out to our neighbors, but it sounds like we're going to
We
do
could
that.
not issue permits for people to use any permit that we issued outside of the city of Oneonta or the city land. Because again, if we could authorize permits on our reservoir if it was consistent with the town. Again, we're gonna have coterminous jurisdiction here, which is why they're being put on notice.
Okay.
But there's a lot of, obviously when you're talking about deer, they don't recognize political boundaries.
They don't?
They tend not to.
So what's the timeline look like, David, on this then?
Well, if the council agrees to pass, or to
Move forward in this year.
put forward as lead agency,
Sure.
there's a 30-day comment period. A 30-day comment period, assuming it's done tonight, June. Yeah, and then if we got it, then we could make the application and be in place by August, which is the deadline, which is kind of why we're going to close here.
And if the town wants to take lead agency on their end, does that delay our application for August 1st?
It might, we think it's unlikely, but we can't do it any faster than tonight. I have to send out the notifications. If we did get an interest from them, obviously we could talk with them and see if there's something that we could do to implement it, or if there's something that we could do to facilitate any concerns that they have as to what the impact might be on the town. Very unlikely.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion in
Motion on the agenda.
Is it on the agenda?
Okay, great. Number 13, that's the intent to declare lead agency. Yeah, start with all.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Susan Bruce? All right, well, Susan, again, always thank you so much for the work that you do. And Nick, I want to let you know too that you can hang out with us if you'd like to. You don't need to. We'll reconnect with you and kind of work through.
I'll stay around, thank you though.
Okay?
thank you.
You haven't been notified that we could run up to 5
Thank you,
hours.
Susan.
That's what our last meeting was.
All right. So hoping that we don't, we're going to now move on to our 2023 year-end financial report, and Janine.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to say that this is a preliminary report. The books are not officially totally closed, but what I've got left to do, I believe, is immaterial that will, as far as affecting any of the final numbers that I will be presenting. So you have in front of you my memo, which I completed about 5:30 this afternoon, so I'm sorry I wasn't able to get it to you sooner. But I would like to go over it with you. You guys can read it, digest it, let me know any questions, and we can talk about it again at the next council. So I'm just going to highlight a few things on this. First, I'd like to talk about the tax levy. I've given you history from 2016 to 2024. The average levy increase was 82,000 or 1.71%. But I also gave you the information from 2020 to 2024. The average levy increase was a little over 116,000 or 2.32%. And total warrants for 2024, we had collected a little over $8.1 million of the total levy and returned to the county 977,000, which was comprised of 188 parcels. And you'll see that last year it was 181. I'm going to flip to page 3. The general fund. The general fund's adopted budget was 17.7 million and the adjusted budget was 21.1. And how was the budget adjusted? One, from 2022 purchase orders of 893,000, with 621 of that being funded with reserves. And you will see I've asterisked the adjustments that were offset by revenues. So we received a restricted donation of $1,000. We also had 3 ARPA projects, 130,000 for the Wilbur Lake Trail Bridge, 710,000 for the River and Ann Street Capital Project, and 35,000 for the Newall Park 5K race course loop. We also received monies for grant writing services, and we did a transfer to the Community Landscaping Fund from the repayment of the water fund of 375,000. We decided when the water fund repaid the general fund for the advance of the Catella well that we would reserve that money for the community landscaping. We also did building roof repairs at the public safety building for 53,000. The New York State Healthcare worker bonus of 39,000. And then, as we've discussed back in December, we transferred $1 million to the Demansky Field Capital Project. And if we end up receiving the DASNY grant, that money will get repaid to the general fund. And we also transferred $200,000 to the central garage to fund inventory and equipment purchases. Then I gave you a list of the 2023 revenues, and you will see that the first 5 on the list, levy, the tax levy, sales tax, the town fire contract, the state revenue sharing, and the ambulance fund, ambulance fees comprise a little over 81% of the total revenues that the city collects. I also want to point out on the list of revenues that our interest earnings this year went way up. Unrestricted interest earnings were over 317,000, and that is a tremendous increase from the previous years. Also, I'd like to highlight we've got 3 revenue sources that we will not be seeing in the future for after 2024. We have ARPA of 874,000. As you know, the ARPA funds had to be in a reserve, and as the capital projects were completed, then we're able to claim them as revenue and transfer those revenues to the capital projects. We also received federal aid for COVID back in 2020 and 21. We were able to issue FEMA claims for our COVID expenses that we incurred, and we received $95,566. And also the New York State Healthcare worker bonuses of 41,000 was also an additional revenue.
Are you taking questions as we go?
Sure, however you would like to do it, Lynn.
So, under the ambulance fees, is that collected or billed?
Those are our net revenues. And I'm going to be getting to that detail in a little while.
And then the airport fees, does that include fuel?
Yes, it's fuel and hangar rents.
Thank you.
Any other questions so far?
Another question. On the 3 that are ending, that's a little over 5%.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
What that means is that for these revenues, we have expenses that offset them. So you won't normally see these in our financial statements because of just the unique situation with ARPA and COVID.
But does that translate, if we would get 5%, we would have 5% less money?
Yes, but we would also have 5% less expenditures.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The transfer to central garage, I vaguely remember doing that, but is that something that we would anticipate doing also in 2024?
Probably not. This is the first time that we have sent money to Central Garage really since its inception.
Okay.
And it's just because of the cost of equipment and the inventory parts now
Okay.
that the fund just needed some working cash.
Okay, gotcha.
It will cycle back in all the different funds because the internal service fund is supported by all the other funds.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're good to go.
Right, on page 4, these are the expense categories that I summarized for 2023. It was 18.7 million. And again, I would just like to point out the ARPA of the 874, which is offset by the revenues. Salaries was a little over 6.9 million, or 37% of the budget, and fringe benefits were a little over 4.8 million, or 26%. So fringe benefits and salaries totaled 63.2% of the total expenditures. The debt was 786,000, or 4.2, which is under our 5% guidelines. And the transfers to capital projects into other funds, again, it was the $1 million to Mansky Field, the 200,000 to Central Garage, and the 370,000 to the landscaping. Sales tax, I just would like to point out, in 2023, it's our highest year in history, really, just over $6 million in sales tax. It increased 232,000 from 2022, or 4%. And January through March of 24, we've collected 1.5 million, which is just under $10,000 more than 2022. So it's really, our 2023, it's in line with last year's activity. What is new, though, is our cannabis sales tax. In 2023, we recognized a little over 33,000. That was for the period of June through November of 23. And to date, 24, we've received a little over 29,000. So I'm going to expect in the 25 budget, we'll probably be able to budget at least 100,000.
Katie?
So my question was about revenues versus expenditures. So the difference, that if I'm reading it properly, is that is $709,000.
I'm going to get to you.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, then I'll wait for your.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, Len, next is the ambulance. It's on page 5. You'll see that in 2023, we did 2,275 calls, so we're back to pre-COVID levels. If you look at 2018, it was 2,274. And we billed just under $3 million worth of ambulance calls. However, we only recognized revenues of 1.1. The reason being is contractual allowances, which we've talked about before, is 1.6. And for those that don't know, contractual allowances is you bill $1,000 for an ambulance bill. Blue Cross says they're only going to pay 500. That 500, the difference of 500 is written off. We're not allowed to bill the patient for that. We had bad debt of 172,000, and then we collected 14,000 of bad debts that were sent to collection agency. So the average net revenues to the amount billed is about 38.6%.
Jenny, on the bad debt, is that just a running tally, or is that annual?
That's for each year.
That's for each year?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, fire protection, as you know, we just renewed our fire protection contract with the town. We went to flat dollar, so 2024, it starts at $1,381,000, increases 50,000 each year, up to 2028 for 1.581 million. And I've already mentioned that our interest earnings was 317,000 for 2023, and it's right on line to be another good year. The Fed is talking about lowering the interest rates by September, but we were conservative in our interest budget for 2024. Parking fines, I'd just like to point out that in 2023, they decreased just over 21,000 from 2022. We collected 82,000. Now, that doesn't mean that's what was issued, it's that is what was paid. When we issue parking tickets, we record the revenues as they're paid, not as they're issued. And so far, as of May 20th, we've collected just under 24,000 in parking funds. State aid, we've received the same state aid of $2.2 million since 2011. It's the same amount. But good news for this year, as you all know, we're getting a temporary increase of our state aid of $259,000. Salaries and fringe benefits in the general fund. Salaries were $6.1 million. It was $364,000 higher than 22, or 6.32%. Overtime was $843,000, or $124,000 higher than 2022, and it was 17.38%. The overtime for police, it was 35% of the total overtime, and fire was 59%. Health insurance was $2.9 million, that increased $190,000 from the previous year. And retirement was $1.3 million, that increased $74,000 from the previous year. So now on the general fund balance, and Katie, hopefully this is going to answer your question. So in 2023, the general fund balance was $11.1 million, unrestricted, and $5 million restricted, or a total of, sorry, I have a typo there, $16.4 million. As of 2023, December, the restricted was $5,027,000, non-spendable of $226,000, that's for any prepaids that we have on the books, and unrestricted was 11.1, a total of 16.4. We have outstanding purchase orders, and I've separated it out there for you between restricted and unrestricted of 1.1, and we have committed funds of 2.2. That leaves an available balance of restricted of 3.8 and just under 9 million of unrestricted, so it's a total of 12.9. So the unrestricted fund balance realized a surplus of 721,000, going from 10.4 million to 11.1. However, due to the 24 budget appropriating a little over 1.8 million, I don't want to recommend sending anything over to the restricted reserves at this point, because I would like that surplus to fund the 24 deficit, if one is incurred.
I didn't hear the last thing that you said.
The surplus for the unrestricted fund balance, it was about 721,000. And however, I would like to keep that in the unrestricted fund balance just in case we have a deficit in 2024. So I'm not making a recommendation right now to reserve any of those funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, can I just ask one question? I don't think that it did answer my question.
Okay.
So, I thought it did for a second, but because we have the outstanding purchase orders, those are being taken out of the fund balance as well. So we're counting the 700, I got 709, but the numbers that were earlier, but I can trust this one. So that's why I said 709 before, but the 721 is not really a surplus if we have the purchase orders that are still outstanding for 2023.
So we're gonna,
So our net for 2023 is really about negative 416, right?
flip the page.
Okay.
Okay.
I should have figured this kind of.
Okay. So I'd like us to know that the general fund contributed $1 million to Maskey Field, as we talked about already. And so that was an unexpected appropriation that we did. And the general fund also contributed the $200,000, and the general fund has outstanding encumbrances of $429 for 2023. Of the 1.1s, Katie, over 600,000 of that is from the restricted reserves.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So the city's fund balance suggests that 35% in unrestricted fund balance be compared to the budget. So the available unrestricted fund balance for 2000 compared to 24 is 45.85% of the 24 adopted budget. And the statistic indicates a strong financial condition for the general fund. However, due to the current budget challenges, conservative budgeting will need to be continued to the future. Now, the main reasons for the increase in the unrestricted fund balance, I've listed all of the surpluses that we received on the various revenue sources. And then I also showed how much was not spent on salaries and fringe benefits and contractuals. So obviously, the largest was we received over $1 million additional funds in sales tax. We had budgeted, I think it was 4.9, and we realized a little over 6 million. But we also saved over 671,000 in salaries and fringe benefits due to vacancies. Most of that is in health insurance, because when we have vacancies, we budget for family plans. And then we also didn't expend 544,000 in contractual. And that's a number of things. It could be clothing, it could be purchase services. When I looked at the detail for every line, there wasn't anything that really stood out. It was just a number of lines that added up to the 744. And then we also transferred, so if you add all those extra revenues up, it's over $2 million. And we transferred out to the capital projects 2.4 or to other funds, which was the transfers that we've already discussed. Any questions on the general fund?
So does the council as a whole make those decisions about transferring?
Oh, yes, their motions are always brought.
But it's kind of like individualized, it's not captured in this context. So we're not looking at it as the big picture, right? Meaning, to me, I'm reading down through this and I'm understanding that the surplus of 2.454.
That wasn't a surplus. Those were when you add all of this up and we then take what we transferred out that we weren't expecting to, that's what nets the 700 and some thousand in surplus.
Okay.
And
who decided to put it back to the other funds? Did we, the council?
yes, you, for example, the $1 million of motion was brought for the $1 million for Demansky Field that council passed, which took the money from the general fund over to the capital projects, correct. If we have transfers for the ARPA, okay, the council already approved the ARPA funds could be spent on these different projects, so that takes it from the general fund, that was over 874,000. Then we had the 370,000 that the council approved for transferring to the landscaping community landscaping fund. So all of those are done.
That's what I'm getting at, is that we don't see it captured like this at 2.4, 2.5. It's line item.
Yes, they're individualized, correct.
I'm trying to say this so that the general public understands how this transactions happen.
Yes, that's fine.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So I still don't know if I'm understanding properly. So if we just take 2023 in a bubble, would we still consider that, I mean, fund balances out of the question, would we still be considered at an operating deficit for 2023?
No, we do not have an operating deficit for 23 in any of the funds.
Okay, I guess if our expenditures were, I'm just being simple here, I think. But if our expenditures were, our revenues were $710,000 to $20,000 more than our expenses as of 12/31, but we still have $1.2 million outstanding. That's still technically negative, even though we have a strong fund balance position, right?
Yes, well, the 791, let me back up.
Thank you.
Okay, the revenues for 23 totaled 19.4.
Yep.
The expenditures totaled 18.7.
Right, but the outstanding purchase orders were
Correct.
like 1.2 million.
Correct, but a lot of that is restricted.
Oh, so it's only 400?
The seven, yes.
Okay,
Okay?
I'm following,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, you set?
Okay, so next I would like to just highlight the water fund. Okay, so I just would like to point out here on the non-college water sales, 2023 we had 2.2 million, which was an increase of 121,000 from the previous year. and the college water sales of $625,000, which was an increase of $85,000 from the previous year. And we have to have an allowance set up for our town accounts. The reason being is that any unpaid city accounts, we're able to re-levy on their next year's property tax bill. We're not able to do that with town accounts. So we have an allowance on the books of $118,000, which primarily is comprised of 3 different town accounts for their outstanding water bills. 2 of them are, one has been paid in full, one is on a payment plan, and one we're pursuing collection. And then on page 10, we'll talk about the water fund balance. The water fund balance is $496,000 restricted and 1.38 unrestricted. I'm sorry, I've got those switched in my narrative here. And so the water fund actually received a surplus of $869,000. However, I want to go into the depths of the surplus. The fund balance went from $519,000 up to 1.3, and this indicates that the water rate slow and steady increase plan is reflecting the growth of our water fund. However, we have to note the following exceptions. $370,000 of that surplus repaid the general fund's advance, and this surplus was realized from the timber sales. The meter sales for 2023 equaled, the budget was $2.3 million, and the actual totaled $2.24 million, which it was a deficit of $72,000. But the college sales, the budget was $495,000, but the actual came in at $625,000, which was a surplus of $130,000. Interest earnings for 23 totaled $22,000, which was a lot higher than 2022. And the water fund also realized $100,000, a little over $100,000 of interfund transfers resulting from excess bond proceeds. This revenue will not be realized in 24. And the surplus realized was also affected by not realizing $500,000 of expenses, with the majority of the savings being $75,000 in salaries, $140,000 in health insurance, $88,000 in contingency was not utilized, and $108,000 in outstanding purchase orders.
Did that have something to do with, and forgive me if I'm off base here, Jenny, wasn't there a ballot measure that allowed this city to look at its sewer expenditures differently than other forms of debt? Or not debt, I'm sorry, I might be thinking of something totally different.
Exclude it from our fund.
Yeah, exclude it from our fund.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with
Okay,
the
just
surplus.
curious.
That just has to do with our debt margin.
Okay, thank you.
And then, yes.
So back on the metered water sales, the deficit of 72,000, approximately how many parcels are responsible for that?
We have, you mean the deficit, the $72,000
Yeah,
deficit?
72.
Well, the $72,000 deficit, the reason that really happened is because we lost one major water customer. So had that water customer not shut down its water service, we would have had a surplus in there. But for the metered water sales, it's about 3,800 customers.
Right. So the deficit is based on primarily, you're saying one customer? Or you're talking about the one that's down in the first ward?
No, the sixth ward.
Oh, I don't think that's the district.
Yeah, it was because Stericycle shut down their water.
Who?
Stericycle, they shut down their boiler.
Not the one I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay? Any other questions?
Good.
Okay. Sewer fund. Again, I just want to highlight that they had $1.6 million in sewer rents for 2023, which was an increase of $134,000 from the previous year, and the college sewer rents were $596,000, an increase of $87,000 from the previous year. And then we have a contract with the town of Oneonta for their support of the wastewater treatment plant. That's formula-based, and it depends on a lot of measurements that the wastewater treatment plant does. So we had the end result was $271,000 for 23, which is an increase of about $7,100. We also have minor sales in the sewer plant for various haulers for the septic waste dumping, and that revenue was about $124,000, which was just $1,800 more than the previous year. So with the sewer fund balance restricted, we have $521,000 at the end of '23, and we have $1.7 million of unrestricted. And with the unrestricted fund balance, the sewer rents budget equaled 1.5 million, with the actual coming in at 1.6, so we had just over a little bit of a surplus of about $5,600. The college rents, we had a surplus of about $112,000. Interest earnings, again, we did very well for $25,000. And the sewer fund also realized $51,000 from excess bond proceeds, which will not be realized in '24. And the surplus was also affected by not realizing $335,000 of major savings in expenses, and I've listed them out there between salaries, fringe benefits, equipment, purchase services, and they also had $35,000 outstanding purchase orders. So the sewer fund is doing well, and the fund balance is growing, which is what we need.
I just want to take a second to commend you, Jenny, on your projection of how close that was, $5,600.
Okay, Oneonta Public Transit. As you know, the enterprise fund is different than our operating funds. It's a proprietary fund, and it's more like business type financial statements. And at the end of the year, we had a deficit of $297,882 for the result of operations. But the previous year, we had what is called a STOA surplus of about $44,000. So we were able to claim our CARES funding of $253,000. As you know, the city was awarded a $1.1 million CARES grant back during COVID, and 2023 was the first year that we had to utilize that. So we now have a balance of $904,000 of that CARES grant, and the 2024 budget includes $596,000 of that. I also gave you the history of the STOA surplus and how it was used since 2015. I also gave you a 5-year history of the passenger counts between all of the major routes within the city. I want to point out that in 2019, we had over 661,000 passengers. And then in 2020, because of COVID, it went down to 222,000. We are now back up to 384,000. And just to talk about the stats on the OPT fund, it reflects how COVID has affected ridership since 2020. And since 2020, the ridership has increased over 72%. However, the SUNY ridership is still a little over 48% lower than 2018. It's just, okay. So it's mainly due because there's less college students as far as the schedules going back 3 times a day. And also the night activity is has much decreased since 2018.
So going back to the ridership though, we picked up some new routes though, and you're comparing today's data with data that was pre-COVID, but we didn't have quite a few routes, right? We expanded our route system, we're taking over a large portion of the county system, right?
Well, really the only one that we've expanded on, I don't know if David is here. I don't, the only one we've expanded on is Sydney since then, correct, Greg?
Right. That's the only route?
That's the only route that we've expanded on, correct.
We did combine the East End and Cooperstown for a little while, right?
Right, there's, so River and West is now a combined route, and East End is now a separate route, and it's covered by the Cooperstown route.
Okay, gotcha.
We started that in 2022.
Yeah,
maybe.
so.
Yeah.
So you'll see how the passenger is going in the right direction, and people are starting to utilize the bus more, but habits change since COVID.
So the overall ridership between 2019 and 2023 is down about 277,000 passengers.
Yeah, and over 200,000 of that is swimming.
Wow.
But if you have 1,000 students more on campus, and they would ride the bus an average of 3 times a day, and you do that for over both semesters, that adds up very quickly. Then I also gave you a list of the capital projects that were occurring during 2023 and 2024. You'll see that the city crews have been very active. There's currently 23 capital projects that I've provided for you. That's just a really quick summary, I know, but I didn't seem quick to the audience, I apologize. It's a lot of information. I will be updating this and sending it out to you again once the numbers are finalized. But I just wanted to get this to you as soon as I could to let you know the surpluses and the strong fund balances that we have in the general water and sewer fund.
Appreciate that. Was there anything else from council?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. This is quite detailed, wonderfully detailed, so thank you for that. I'm just curious if you could give us a little bit of an overview, a sense of sort of the broader picture, both for the public and for the council. What your sense is
For
of
a particular fund, or?
Well, just if you could kind of create a summary perhaps of main points, takeaway points.
Well, for the general fund, I believe that our fund balance is strong. We had a strong finish for 2023, especially since we were able to transfer 1.2 million from the general fund to other funds. I also believe that the 1.8 deficit that is in the 24 budget will either be funded by the current, the 2023 surplus, or it will be lessened because we were conservative on our sales tax, we were conservative on the cannabis sales tax, which is not even in the budget. And also, with the current vacancies that we have, I don't believe we're going to be utilizing the 1.8 million of the fund balance. And for the water fund is getting stronger. We will be updating a water worth presentation for council. We will be looking at the recommendations for the rate structure for 2025 to see what is the best scenario to go forward. As we presented this a few years back when we showed the rate structures and what we needed to do to be able to fund our operations and our capital. We'll do that again with the updated information. And we will be doing the same with the sewer funds. But I believe what I call the slow and steady approach to the rate increases is working well.
Yes, Scott.
So the overall plan is, when we do the budget, as we start talking about it, is we already know you're gonna come to us for a 10% water, 10% sewer increase again. Because you said you're gonna do that over the next 5 years. And if my memory's right, this will be the 5th year. For 10% across them.
Fourth year.
So, okay, 4th year.
Yeah, because we started in 2020, right?
Alright. And then, as we talk about the regular budget, Greg and Ginny are gonna ask us where we wanna go. We're gonna probably say tax cap again, don't go over it. But then last year we got handed 10%, which we said no, took it out of the fund to balance it. So I guess my big question, Greg, is what are we gonna do? What are we looking at? What are we looking at for, as we get going? Are we looking at, gotta have a conversation, are we looking at reductions of services? Are we looking at redoing things? I mean, is this?
Well, that's a good, well, we're not quite to that point. The agenda will be a good segue into the strategic plan. That's the whole purpose of that conversation that I think we need to continue to have. I think we should maybe, the council should talk about what is our roadmap to completing that strategic plan. I would suggest by sometime midsummer when we're getting into the budget process, because I think that those strategic priorities that the council decides will inform how we go into the budget process, coupled with what I call the primary budget parameters that the council sets at the very beginning. What are we going into the budget? What assumptions we're making going into the budget? Are we going to the tax cap? Are we going above it? Are we going in a direction? You said that. How much use of unrestricted fund balance do you want to see included in our balanced budget to present, the draft budget we present in October? And then, what sort of, how conservative do you want us to be with our approach to budgeting for sales tax? The same as we have been in the past few years, just conservative, more conservative, or less conservative. But those three things, coupled with the strategic plan, the priorities set by the council will inform the staff's preparation of a draft budget.
Is the one thing, and I might have missed it, as I was, just got this, I was really going through the numbers, so I apologize if I missed it, but the one thing I don't see in here is the bonds we know we're gonna be pushing out. We know we got a $2 million possible, either low interest loan from the grant that we're trying to put in for, or the $2 million bond from the fire truck. We passed that at the last council, but the last council passed that before going into this year, so we know that's gonna come out of this year. So when we start talking about the surplus, or we got this, or we got that, knowing that we're gonna do that, we really don't have it, because we know we're gonna be on the hook for more payments to keep going down the road, so. I mean, I guess what I'm asking for now, as we start getting ready to go into the budget, the hard budget discussions is, where is that an area are we gonna turn around and say, because we haven't sent out this bond yet for the fire truck, is that one of the first places we're gonna look? Because I don't want to, because we kind of kicked that can down the road for decades. Well, I don't know how we're gonna, what exactly, I mean, I know it's great, we got the strategic plan, but overall, this strategic plan to me is more of like a deferred maintenance list. It's not really, strategic plan would be, this is what we need, this is how we're getting. I don't see that in the strategic plan. I see, this is what we have, we'd like to really keep this, and we don't really know unless we do this. We don't have that. We need this defined way to set this, going into the budget, how we're going to meet and get there. I just look at the strategic plan that we got now, to me, is just more of a deferred maintenance list. We know we got this, but we don't, other than raising taxes, that's the only thing I ever see come out of that.
So what we want to get to with the strategic plan, it's a really important component of this, and I think it's the lead component. We start to make the determination of what our priorities are, and if we, for instance, our priority is that we want to have that fire truck. So that, among the various things that we determine within the context of the strategic plan conversation, those are going to end up driving our discussions around budget, what we cut, what we don't cut, what we prioritize. So I think the strategic plan, which is really, this is something that's Greg was saying we need to kind of push forward and accomplish so that we have this base to work with, this basic information to work with. It'll wind up informing a lot of those other conversations. I think your point's well taken.
Thank you.
But,
so I think it would help me going into strategic planning is to know what the hard numbers are for 25. So from your desk, Greg, I would ask for the hard numbers. No way around it. You have your salaries. We'll see what's filled, what's not filled. We know we have bonds. What are those? Just all the things that there's no way around it. Before we get to the department heads and start asking them, one, what's the dream list, and then two, what are you gonna cut? So before we tax them out, I'd rather know what our hard numbers are before we really look at strategic planning.
I agree with the idea of looking through, I look through the 2024 budget and identify what do you call the hard ones, things like utility costs, salaries, assuming no major changes in services, what are the things that we know what those costs are going to be next year, are relatively the same. And we're not going to go through the project of developing the draft 2025 budget that takes, weeks and weeks, but we'll have an idea, and just go through the 2024 budget and identify those things. But I think that the strategic plan is separate from the budget, but they go hand in hand. So the strategic plan, I view that as what do we want to provide as a city? What are our priorities? Almost separate from costs, like what are our priorities? And then we talk about the costs, we put the two together and we use that to guide us. So I think we can do both of those things. So I kind of,
it would really help me to know what the hard numbers are before we start talking about it, because I'd really like to have twice the size of city staff, but the reality is we can't afford that, right? I'd like more people out on the street fixing potholes and sidewalks and doing all those things, more police, more fire. But the reality is we can't afford that stuff. The hard numbers are for me where I'm really at.
If I may, just to interject here, a strategic plan allows you a set of guidelines and principles. So you may not, at the moment, have capacity, but a strategic plan is about capacity building, ultimately, right? So when we talk about priorities, if our priority is to increase the Department of Public Works in terms of various expenditures, then we figure out the pathway to achieve that goal. So the strategic plan, I think, is really vital. There's hard numbers, as you refer to them. There's also, what are we doing here? And I think that the strategic plan allows us to answer that question so that we have that path.
Piggyback on that before going to Scott. Yeah, and it also is a conversation among council members representing all these 8 wards of the city in terms of what are the priorities, what is the consensus that the council determines are the priorities. And then, again, the hard numbers, all of those things are gonna then inform the conversation. But then everybody within the context of council knows where we're going and is agreed on what those priorities might be. Scott?
No, I forgot.
Okay. Do we have any more conversation?
Well, I would just say that, just to add to that, I think it's also about building capacity, so that you're not just talking about what our priorities are, but how do we build capacity through a roadmap? And that's what it seems like a strategic plan is really useful for.
Good point. Scott?
No, short-term memory loss, sorry. But the one thing that I take very serious here, and it's written in the charter and stuff, this budgets that we do is a primary goal of council. It sits right in the charter. That's what we're here to do, and that's one of the most serious jobs that we have. I don't think we ever spend enough time on it throughout the year, honestly. I mean, we get down into the weeds on other business and stuff like that, but I mean, this is, we're gonna be going into a couple hard years here because we gave out those raises. We're trying to settle one more contract that hasn't been settled yet. That we're increasing our expenditures, but we're not increasing our bottom line. We can't always rely on sales tax to bail us out, and it's great. We can't keep sitting there saying, well, we're coming in underneath or we have vacancies. I mean, yeah, it's great we got vacancies that help with the budget. I get that's great, but that's also taxing our staff because we're not up to the staffing that we should be at. And that's why we're running, the fire department's almost, just shy of 60% on overtime. The police department's up about 40% in overtime. Those are very concerning statistics to see in this, that, our emergency services, that's obviously, we're just running them. And I think that's, so the strategic plan, I think, like Glenn said, we wanna increase this. And like Cecilia said, I agree 100%. How are we gonna get there? And that's the big conversation. I don't think we've ever really truly spent a lot of time on it. How are we gonna do this?
Yeah, so I think, Scott, like kind of linking the two, our for example, for the strategic plan, we're trying to get to a point where we're sustainable. And a way to do that is to raise salaries that the majority of the council agreed to do. Because we have such harsh competition right outside the city borders for police, for one, and there's other places firefighters can go to make more money. So by increasing that, that's one way that we can, short-term, take more tax burden on, but long-term, hopefully help with some of that burnout.
So I'm going to say thank you very much. Oh, yes, John, go ahead.
I have a very simple question. Not a complicated thing like that. What's the 5K race course loop?
Greg, would you like to describe the?
So that was an ARPA-funded project. The paving, portion of the paving was done in Nemo Park, well, the Tello Park specifically. It goes kind of around past the Tello Park well and connects to the other section of the paving we'd already done. Essentially,
So along the river there and then up towards the.
yeah, it goes around the big field and connects over there. We call it the 5K race loop because we're trying to, one of the thoughts was by completing that loop, we can have more of the 5K races in the park and not on the streets where they require police overtime and staffing and safer. So a few of them have taken us up on that.
I walk that frequently, it's very nice. And the other one was the WWTP upgrade, phase 2, what's that?
That's the wastewater treatment plant, WWTP. Phase 2, we're calling it because we did a previous upgrade that was about $9 million. We completed that a couple years ago. This is the one we just, I think the last council meeting approved engineering contract.
Okay.
So that'll be going.
Okay. As long as we don't have to run the 5K. I'll walk it, but not run.
So again, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our boards, commissions, and task forces. I haven't heard anything from any of the liaisons if there was anything to present. Was you have, Greg? Do not? Okay, in which case then we'll go to our committee reports, and I know the legislative committee met, and Councilor Carson, if you
We did meet, and from the hard work of doing doubles, for doing 2 meetings a month, you have the ethics board legislation that was laid before you. We're going down our list, we have 6 items on our agenda, so I think. 16? No. I think next week we're working on film permitting legislation, and we got some comments back on that, and we're also working on fees.
All right, very good. If there are no questions or comments, then we'll move on to the approval of the warrants. And that is motion number 1, that the common council approves the warrants totaling $718,930.07, and that the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. Do I have a motion to approve? Luke, followed by Katie, and take the vote.
Councilmember Burton?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon?
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, then we have the consent agenda, which are items 2 through, motions 2 through 6. Before we get into it though, I want to just acknowledge Jillian Hungerford, who has been appointed to the position of civilian dispatcher. Congratulations. And I also want to commend Dan Butterman for stepping up and taking on another, yet one more go at the Civil Service Commission. Is this his second or third? Second. So we might come back to you yet again. With that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Don, followed by, and we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Burton?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon?
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much. That takes us to the city administrator's report, and so it was great.
Mr. Mayor, a few updates. As you hadn't noticed, the River Street construction project is substantially complete. Just today, I heard a few nice comments, feedback from the public, very positive with the smoothness of the road and holes being adjusted, for the first time in decades to all be just about perfect along that stretch. We are looking at next year, we haven't finalized what our projects will be, but there's another stretch of River Street that we're hoping to build. It's a mill and pave if we have the budget that permits. Parks crew has put special attention to weeding, including the Veterans Memorial Walkway, preparation for Memorial Day coming up. Newell Park hydro seeding along the Millrace Trail and behind the pickleball courts was completed, so that should allow the grass to grow. Unfortunately, clearing brush was done. OPT, as you may have seen in the paper on Facebook elsewhere, they're beginning a 30-day trial period tonight with evening service to Southside. Normally during the year, Tuesday through Saturday, we run the service, which is kind of part of our Hartwick contract, with Hartwick out of session for the summer. That contract doesn't apply, so we're attempting to continue that for the summer to provide a little extended hours to Southside to see how that goes. And that was all I had, unless there were some questions.
Any questions?
Where are we at with the contract with the town of Long Island with regards to water?
West End Water District that we proposed, that would allow, Jenny had made mention earlier in the meeting, because I know what that is, explain it again, maybe I should. We've got some new numbers. So with the city unable to re-levy unpaid water bills in the town of Oneonta, having a district established that the town would establish would allow the town to re-levy those, have those bills re-levied. It's an odd situation. Typically with a town water district, in most instances between cities and towns or wherever municipalities are, the municipality providing the water sells the water to the town. It passes through a meter and then the town distributes it to their customers from there. This is a little different. The city, the way laws work and the way this was constructed, we can go within up to a mile outside of our borders, constructing water mains that are part of the city water system without there being a town water district established. That's what we've done decades and decades ago. We can talk about this. Establishing a district of some sort has been a goal of the city's for some time. The town agrees with establishing this. It's a fair thing to do. Really, the city's initiative was to do this. So we're at the point now where we've hired or are hiring a consultant to do a map plan and review or a report to establish that district so that we can essentially provide the town what they need to create the district that will help ultimately the city relay those unpaid water bills. So that process will be probably a couple months. I think it says how much weeks, Chris. At that point, we should be able to move forward with the actual bridges.
And so the document that David has been working on for this counterpart of the town, that's done and we're just waiting on its map?
That document to be completed kind of relies on this map plan report. We provided the map. We're hoping to avoid having to do the full ordeal, but we don't have the capacity in the house to do it at this time, so we're contracting.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for Rick? Yes.
Great, just back to River Street a little bit. I know I feel a lot of questions, and I just thought maybe if we can get out here and open a little bit, is some of the reasons about the rest of River Street. One, we never bonded the whole River Street to be done. I think that's an important thing to have out there. We only bonded the section that we did, in the upper section for just the water, with a trench that was put back down, fresh blacktop into that trench only. That wasn't a complete mill and pave like down by Stewart's. Second thing is with River Street, we should put out there is we still have some ongoing projects that need to be done before we do River Street, because it wouldn't make sense to dig River Street right back up after you pave it, in the way of like manholes and some stuff like that that needs to be done. I know the contractor did a couple extra lead services that were found out through there. And I just want to make sure it's out there that this isn't DPW is gonna, the staff that they have are trying to do a lot of the projects in-house to save taxpayers money. And I just want to kind of have that out there, that this is more of a longer term. We can do the job, we can do it right from beginning to end. So that's,
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And just to piggyback on that, I mean, essentially, we're working within the budget that we have. The bond for this project is a water fund bond. It's not a general fund bond. The general fund money, which does all the milling and paving and the drainage work, curbs, the sidewalks, that is being funded entirely by state assistance that we get through our CHIPS and state government funds. Because of the city's recent budgets, we haven't committed any city funds to milling and paving for the past three years, I believe. So we've been relying on that state funding. So we're stretching as far as we can. We're looking to do that. We'll finish one of the streets, obviously, next year.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments for Greg, I have a couple of things. I want to just bring the council up to date on this past Saturday. Seems like a million years ago, but it was only this past Saturday. Farmers Market had, even though it was a little bit of drizzle, they had a pretty spectacular one more day. I think it was their fourth in a row. I think prior to that, we haven't been together. I wanted to let you know that the skate jam the previous Saturday went very, very well. And again, that happened because somebody covered the insurance, so thank you very much to DC Marketing for that. The farmers market again did wonderfully, and then we had a city town cleanup that many people were involved in, and we moved a lot of trash, and it was good to work kind of with the town without any real concern for where the city-town boundaries were. Trash knows no boundary, and so the town supervisor was helping pick trash in the city, the mayor was helping pick trash in the town, and it's a good team-building exercise beyond the fact that we did some nice cleanup. I want to let you know that on Memorial Day, which is Monday, at 11 o'clock in Newalk Park. At the Veterans Memorial, there will be a ceremony, and it would be wonderful to have as many council members in attendance for that as you might be able to make it. Also on the 30th, which is Thursday at 5 p.m., from 5 till 9, the Ford on Main will be having their grand opening basically, and tours will be offered as well, and it should be a very nice day. I know it's being well catered, so for those that that's the difference maker, that might in fact even include me. And then on Friday the 31st at 4 p.m. over at the Mountain View Social Club. I always mess up the name, but the Mountain View Social Club over on River Street. They are having from 4 to 6. They're having an open house. These are the RSS consumers that have been part of conversations that we've had over the course of the last several months. It'd be very nice if some council members might want to stop by and get to know some of the folks there and see what they do and how that kind of peer-to-peer support has been working for them. So I invite you to that. Let's see if there was anything else. And that might just about do it. Oh wait. You're not gonna be here next council meeting, are you?
No. So here I am again, right? But I just want to say, Luke Murphy, he has been like, look it up in the dictionary. If you look up respect, you look up empathy, you look up appreciation, the appreciation of staff for everything they do. Our appreciation for you, Luke, I can't put it into words, although we did put it on a plaque here. So maybe I can have you join me up here as we present this to you. So Luke Murphy, in recognition of your service as a common council member representing the city of Oneonta's first ward, on behalf of a grateful community, we extend our deepest appreciation to Luke Murphy on this 21st day of May. And
thank you, Mayor.
Do you want to say a word, please?
Thank you for this all. It's been a great honor to serve my community in the first ward. Never really intended to do it growing up, but opportunity presented itself, and I just hope I did right by the first ward, and for the next person coming in, whoever that may be, board meetings are great, and just remember that our city staff is truly irreplaceable experts in their fields, and they really know their stuff, so they really help the city run. So thank you all. Thank you.
So with that, now we'll move into our discussion agenda with motion number 7, that the Common Council authorizes the continued use of the 2021 street projects H68 capital project budget balance of $110,939.63 to be used towards various street projects and repairs as determined by the city administrator and public works director, and the council further authorizes the director of finance to establish the necessary account codes and budgets for the various approved street projects. So I have a motion to approve. Len, followed by Don, and discussion. Have we? All right. Well,
yeah, I just got
yes,
a question. Do we have anything in mind off the top of your head what we're looking at for the projects?
Yes.
Chris?
So right now, with the current budget, we're looking at about 2.5 miles of micropaving. This will allow us to do a little over 4 miles of micropaving this year. So we're looking to micropave multiple streets throughout the city using these funds.
Sorry, just
Yes.
to feedback on that, is it possible to have that list sent to us so we can anticipate what's
I have a
happening?
rough list right now.
Yeah.
we're getting quotes on it right now, but, I don't know, Greg, should I just list them out, or?
I think last time I mentioned that I don't like to throw out a street and then potentially not do it if the quotes are higher. But if we can agree not to get our hopes up, I mean, this is going to the
Well,
look
I
back.
wanted
Go ahead.
totally to get my hopes up.
Off the top of my head, it's gonna go Center Street, Maple Street, Bugby, parts of Elm, Ford, Dietz, name a few.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the heads up.
We'll send the final list once we have it.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
And if anyone doesn't know what micro paving is, it's a maintenance technique, it's a very thin surface, it's not milling and paving, it's there to extend the life of pretty decent to good roads. So we're not, if you see a terrible road that's in awful condition, you say, why didn't they do that? That would be a waste of money, so this is more to avoid roads getting to that condition in the future.
Buys us some time.
Yeah.
Further
Does that kind of take the place of the old chip sealing where you tar and stone?
Very similar. Doesn't leave.
I don't like tar and stone, so I'm good with that.
It doesn't leave all the loose, so afterwards.
Okay. All right, so I think we can call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon?
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, motion number 8, that the common council approve the final 2023 budget transfers and amendments totaling $180,037 as presented. Do I have a motion to approve? Luke, followed by Cecilia. And discussion. Okay, with that we will, I don't know that.
I think what it was because we got it kind of late, and I was trying to figure out things, and I think I pulled it because I'm trying to meet the deadline and getting it back, and so I apologize.
It's all good, it's all good. All right, with that, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon?
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, motion number 9, the common council approves the release of the original authorized commitment of the excess funds from the completed capital projects and return or transfer said funds, including reserving excess bond proceeds for future debt payments as indicated on the attached report. And
I'll make a motion, because I can pull this one.
are you making a motion to?
Yeah, make a motion.
I'll second.
Second is, and again, now discussion.
I think I understand it better now, Julie did her presentation.
All right. Well, that's good.
Is there a number, Mark, that can be attributed to this?
Then a number that can be attributed.
Excess fund.
Jenny?
No, it's, if you look at the attachment one, it separates it out by capital projects.
Okay. I'm just looking at straight.
Oh, it's in the attachment, would have been part of the agenda packet. There are too many numbers to list in the motion, really.
But overall, what is that final?
Can I just quickly summarize it for you?
Sure.
Okay, so, Gardner Place, I'd like to return $2,050 to the sewer fund. The Gardner Place project had $178,000 funded from the sewer fund. We did not need it all. We have the excess of $2,000. We have 3 airport projects that have been closed. And I'd like to return from the airport apron lighting and sign designs about a little over $1,900. The reconstruction of the terminal about $2,000, and the pavement management program about $1,800. The wastewater treatment plant improvements, the $9 million project, we need to fund $515 that was not covered by the grant. So I'm asking to have the sewer fund cover the $515. The Water Street pedestrian bridge, we have to meet part of what was not covered by the insurance recoveries. That's about $1,300. The New York State Power Authority street lighting project, we have excess bond proceeds of $309,000. And we want to, by mandate, we have to reserve that for future debt payment. Also, we had 33,000 of excess bond proceeds for the wastewater treatment plant. Again, by state law, we have to mandate that for future bond payments. The ARPA on the Newell Park 5K course, we need an extra 15,000 that was originally budgeted in the parks budget itself within the general fund to go towards that project. But the in-house work did not get done, we ended up contracting it out, so we need to transfer that from the general fund over to that capital project. And the Demansky Field concession repairs, again, we need to cover about $4,500 of the deductible that wasn't covered by insurance recoveries because of the damage that was done there. That's basically all.
So by unencumbering the $2,000 for the terminal, I actually didn't know that that was there because we could have used that. What was the original holder of the $2,000?
Are you talking about the reconstruction? The reconstruction of the
Yes,
terminal?
we did that several years ago.
Yeah, the original expenses were $1,482,000. We funded $1,484,000 because it didn't come in quite to the budget, so
Sure.
our local match was in excess of what was required. So we need to return that back to the general fund.
So I just want to make sure that I'm reading this properly. So we are, overall, we are putting from the general fund into, for capital projects, approximately $15,000, correct?
And those were not in the numbers that I went over with you tonight because you guys have not approved.
Gotcha.
What's that number, Peyton?
15,500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? Take a vote.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember Eugene? Aye. Councilmember Lepage Chu?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, motion number 10, that the common council authorizes the waiver of the city's purchasing policies requirement relative to procurement of professional and consulting services, and further authorizes the city administrator to execute an agreement with Josh Taylor to fill the role of downtown Renaissance coordinator for the coordination and facilitation of the downtown Renaissance and the development of strategic plans and partnerships for 2024-25 and beyond, in the amount of $25,000 for a period commencing May 22nd, 2024 and ending May 21, 2025 as presented. This agreement is subject to review by the city attorney. Do I have a motion to approve? Don, followed by, I don't know that you can, I think.
Oh, can I?
Oh, no, I'm so sorry, I was someplace else in my head. Go ahead. Yes, of course. Yeah, that was a totally different motion.
Yes.
So I've got Don followed by Luke and discussion.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sorry.
I didn't catch the word "and beyond." I thought when we were talking about the Renaissance program, we're talking about 1 year.
Yes, so to clarify, so I thought that might raise a flag. It's just planning and no commitments. It's partnerships, potential partnerships, so that if there's a continuation, that there are people in play and in place. But it's not a commitment. It's literally just trying to strategize for the future.
So why wouldn't it just be for the 1 year? Because we've always exercised in some of our contracts that we could, you know what I mean, extend it, you know, versus saying, I just, the word "and beyond" just makes me a little uncomfortable.
If you wanna, you know, strike that with a friendly amendment, I've got no issue around it, if anybody else does.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe instead of beyond, just say, with a possible extension, or however we say it.
Yeah, so to be clarifying, this is not so much about.
I don't know, it's just that word just has me.
Sure. So just to be clear, this is not about his contract. This is about, so if you're working with a college, for instance, right? And you're starting to work with a music program, that they can start to
determine ways that they may be involved in downtown with their music program, even as we may not have the Renaissance in 2 years or even a year. But that they are looking at opportunities to bring partnership into the community for the purposes of the overall kind of engagement and entertainment and performing visual arts integration into downtown. Does that make sense?
No.
Actually, awesome.
So it's not about his contract, it's about talking to people about what they can do this year, what they may be able to do down the road. So that they can kind of strategize within the context of, you know, what it is that they do, what they.
What is this?
I mean, none of that is necessarily in the motion, so if it's concerning, you just strike that.
Sure.
Downtown Renaissance Coordinator in the amount of $25,000 for a period commencing.
So do you want to make a friendly amendment to that?
Katie, before you
Before I do that.
make a suggestion?
Sure.
We put place markers to the mayor. At the last county council. And so does his contract reflect those place markers? Because I don't want to be committed to paying him $25,000 for a one-year contract if it ends at the end of June.
That's a good point.
Good point.
June of 2024.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh.
We put place markers in so that we know we're hitting our benchmarks.
Right.
And the first one comes at the end of June.
I mean, is there a contract that we could see?
I think you have the contract.
I didn't get a
I
contract.
didn't either, just his proposal.
It's in the package, there.
Is it?
Distributed down there to me on Friday, which added to the.
Yes, the last bookmark.
Ah.
Page 46.
No.
Yes.
Page 41, okay.
46.
Oh, it says it in the contract, 24, 25, and beyond.
Which could be modified.
We got that Friday?
Glad to answer your question. Do you have it there?
I do, on page 1 of 6 of this contract, and it says compensations, that we're committing to $25,000 for 12 months worth of service. He's going to be paid on a monthly basis. And that's just, that's number 7, so.
Yeah, I mean, it does say we can term it with 60 days notice, but then we pay it for
60
2
days
months.
notice?
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm just kind of curious how we got to this contract after our last town council meeting, understanding that benchmarks were put there.
Right, so this contract has been kind of in progress and hadn't been adjusted. I didn't think to adjust it, so that's on me. We can make that adjustment. Not aware.
Well, I would have to say that somewhere's in the term, that our city attorney's gonna have to come up with a clause that recognizes that this contract can end, if the council so chooses, to end the Renaissance based on the benchmarks. Thoughts, David?
I don't know if I can do it on the fly.
Okay.
That would be my only concern. Contracts made in haste are.
I completely agree.
And I don't like the 60-day termination.
I'm just gonna, put this out there, that, isn't this a matter for HR? I'm confused as to why isn't this a human resources question? I mean, this discussion, shouldn't it be within, no? This is within our
This
purview?
isn't an employment contract, it's
It's
a
a contract.
professional services
Okay.
contract.
Okay, thank you. Sure. So if I may, I actually found, in reviewing, I was in the last council meeting, as everybody's aware, so I'm not privy to the conversation that took place. But I was not satisfied with the proposal that was put forward and recommended by the council. I did not think that it really meets the scope of the position that's required. The proposal that we are asked to look at and consider is heavy on events planning, and I think that the central business district of our city needs far more economic development than just events. And I thought about a proposed solution, another pathway, out of this coordinator position that would include creating a task force on economic development, that would include soliciting an RFP about economic development, and that would include creating a strategic plan and a budget based on the RFP. So to me, having festivals and events, fantastic. There needs to be far more extensive work done in terms of economic development that needs the input of the staff and council.
So I would not disagree with you. I don't see it as binary though. What we have right now is this explosion of folks that have come to this concept of trying to do as many different things. In fact, there's a poster that you all have on your desk that is going to generate the foot traffic that will be the economic driver through the summer for the businesses. Now, that does not mean that we don't need, and we really, I think it'd be great to have a conversation that develops a strategy that has, committee, informing, through council and others, directions for the further economic development of our downtown. But I don't see it as binary.
Perhaps we could have those conversations about what a committee might look like, a task force.
Yeah.
And an RFP, as a possibility to solicit ideas around how economic development may look for the.
Sure. But again, I don't see that as, I see that as something we should do.
Right.
I don't see that as, that this is something that we should not do, especially as, we have a lot of, gears turning on this, and there are a lot of folks that are invested in this at this point. And there's a lot of work that's already been done to try to pull this thing together. And the proof will be in the surveys. Has this had an impact on our economic, picture in our downtown? Are the merchants doing better than what they would expect to be doing, a year out, right? From, many of them have been in business for more than a year. They can make a distinction between what they did in May of 2023 versus what they're doing in May of 2024. That information would get brought back to council. That is the council's determination at our last meeting, is that if those numbers, those surveys don't indicate that this has had, tangible benefit to the economy of the city, it's easier to pull the plug with this bill.
Right, but I believe what Councilmember Waltruso was trying to get at, and I completely agree, is that it leads you to that type of thinking, the overall global thinking, by the words that were chosen here. Development of strategic plans and partnerships. This is an event plan. This is somebody that's bringing different entertainment acts down, and maybe we just change the words within the contract, because I can see where she got to that path as I'm looking at the contract for the first time. So I would like to make a friendly amendment that we strike development of strategic plans and partnerships for 2024, 2025, and beyond, and just his job description is in there, and it's an event plan, and we'll go from there. But I would also like to see less than 30 days notice to strike the contract and give the latitude to our city attorney to come up with verbiage that allows the city council to end the contract
We just, so you get a sense that this is by majority vote, I mean, if we're right,
Yeah, because the benchmarks that were put, that the mayor just talked about, that's how it's gonna come about, is that the majority of the council is gonna vote. It's not a super majority, it's just a simple majority saying yes or no, that it's not working.
is that a consensus of the council that you'd like to do that again? I just don't want to draft something and then have it be discussed. Is that generally something the council is going to consider?
Do we have a consensus of the council on that?
Well, that's what we did last council.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah,
we addressed
yes,
what we've already done.
and in terms of you're
Just
addressing
memorializing it.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. So that's a yes.
Okay.
But I'd like to come back to, I don't want to let go of the notion, we talked about this, we've been talking about this for a couple of years. So we have a council consensus around the idea that we need to have an economic strategy for our downtown and beyond. And, you know, a strategic plan for that. I'm totally down with that, and I think that that's something we definitely will pursue. This isn't binary, that's definitely, we're trying to get it in front of what seems to be, as I've called it, a COVID level emergency in our downtown in terms of the numbers of shoppers that we have, the numbers of tourists that we can expect, and this should make a difference. And if it does or doesn't, this council will know, and then the council will make the determination as to what we're going to do. Scott?
I'm trying to remember rules here, so I'm looking over Dave. We have a friendly amendment.
Yes. So that needs to be, do we know?
So we have.
If there's consensus on friendly amendment that can be made by friendly amendment, otherwise it has to be, there has to be a motion to amend, which is then voted on.
Okay, so when you said
That's the
yes,
question you're asking?
yeah, so when everybody said yes, we're all good with that.
If everybody says yes, there can be a friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you for
I'm always-
we tend to get ourselves in trouble with that with
Really?
consensus, so.
I never noticed that.
I hate to use that word. So with that, striking the language, so now we remove and the development of strategic plans and partnerships for 2024, 2025 and beyond. So removing that line, and then the motion, you know, reading as it does, I can read the entire motion if you'd like, or.
Well, also adding in there that the latitude is given to the city attorney to capture the termination is less than 60 days, that if by council.
So you want me to draft it and insert it in the contract, or you want me to draft it and then resubmit it to the council?
However you so choose, David, but right now, in this contract on page 1 of 6, number 6, this term says they have up to 60 days.
So we'll draft it, we'll insert in contract, and it'll be reflective of the motion, and we'll hold off on the signing of that contract.
Okay, well, that's what I was hoping to say.
Yeah, right. So it's a few day delay.
One and then plugging it in.
Sure.
Without approval of the council.
Okay. So it's coming back to the next council, is that my understanding?
No.
That's, I think, David.
That's what David just said.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned with.
Yeah, no, so
That's what David said.
what we're saying is that you're going to
If I
draft
have a
something
consensus
that's
of the council
reflective of.
authorizing me to do that, then I will do that.
Yes.
But I want to make clear that you're authorizing me to do that.
And we
Because again,
are,
I don't want to get ahead of things.
council is authorizing you.
I'm sorry.
To do, because you keep saying that, and I just wanna make sure
Well,
that I know what you're
creating
talking
the
about.
clause, creating an insertion consistent with a reevaluation in 60 days of the contract will be terminated by the council.
I don't
Now
think
I'm
that's,
sworn.
I don't think that's what,
This is why I want clarification.
yeah, that's,
Make sure
yeah.
exactly what it is you want me to do.
So here, this is where I'm worried about doing this by consensus, doing my friendly thing. Maybe we should just put it in motion so it's, we know exactly what we're doing. And then that will give you, would that give you peace of mind because it's sitting right there?
Right, just follow the motion.
I prefer specificity.
Okay, so modifying the motion.
When I'm generating contract.
Right, so the contract to be amended to reflect a 30-day termination period.
Yes.
And we say 30 days. after an evaluation, or every 30 days, or?
I don't know, David, it says written notices. So right here it says either party may terminate this agreement upon 60 days notice, a written notice sent to the other party by certified mail.
Right.
So we could just change that to 30 days. The notice would be based on a motion from this council. Okay.
So again, I guess my question would be, how is it going to get to the council?
Well, the council will make the motion in the event that they determine that the Renaissance program is not having the economic impact that it should. And then with that, we will make the.
I'm good with that.
So changing within the contract, changing 60 to 30.
Contract is to be amended to reflect a 30-day termination period based upon council action.
Just like that. So, the only other thing that I noticed is that the statement that we have struck here in the original motion is on the contract, and I was requesting that.
Right, so that would
struck
have to
on
come
the
on the
contract.
contract, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So again, a question about procedure. If I would like to put forward a motion to have the council discuss the creation of a task force or a working group on economic development.
Yeah, I don't know that you need a motion right now, but we
Right.
can bring it,
Right.
to.
Yes, the next part of it.
Absolutely.
I need clarification, I understand the contract part, but I thought we were also taking out that 2025 and beyond.
We are.
Okay. All right, thanks. Just trying to know I'm gonna be voting on this.
The motion removes and the development of strategic plans and partnerships for 24, 25 and beyond from both the contract and the motion. And then also directs the amendment to reflect a 30-day termination period based upon common council action.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sounds good. Shall I read it one more time for everybody, or do we have?
It might not be a bad
Like,
idea.
yeah, let me read the thing.
Following it up.
I'll do my best. Do my best. Motion number 10, that the common council authorizes a waiver of the city's purchasing policies requirement relative to procurement of professional and consulting services, and further authorizes the city administrator to execute an agreement with Josh Taylor to fill the role of downtown Renaissance coordinator for the coordination and facilitation of the downtown Renaissance in the amount of $25,000 for a period commencing May 22nd, 2024 and ending May 21, 2025. The contract is to be amended to reflect, to remove the statement which reads on the development of strategic plans and partnerships for 2024, 25 and beyond, and reflect a 30-day termination period based upon council action. This agreement is subject to review by the city attorney.
We already have a motion.
I don't just get a separate, because we're doing an actual motion.
But if you're doing an actual motion, who's the first?
Well, we had Luke and we had Cecilia, I think, were the originals on this one.
No, Don and then Luke. Yeah.
Was it Don?
That's right.
Sorry.
That's why I don't know.
So then you're the council member who has to make the amendment by motion.
On the amendment.
That needs to be confirmed and accepted by the primary movement and by the secondary.
Okay.
If they've been accepted by the primary movement and the secondary, then you can move forward.
Okay, so with that, then we will vote to,
Wait, were they?
So I'm accepting
Don
the
was
changes, yes.
do we need a motion to,
Nope.
If you're doing a friendly amendment, you do not, if everybody agrees, you can move forward.
okay,
But you have a council member who has to make the amendment by motion. So I defer to Dave what he wants to do there.
Why don't you withdraw the request and be made by motion that the motion be amended consistent with the friendly amendment? You want the friendly amendment, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if there's consensus and the friendly amendment as per the discussion has been adopted by the primary movement and by the secondary, then that's simply voted on as amended.
I'm good with that.
That's what I thought we were.
yeah.
You can read my mind, I'm glad.
So,
Councilmember Matheson, you're still good?
Yes.
And Councilmember Murphy? Yes, you have to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, you're voting on the motion as amended.
On the friendly, yes, go. So let's just.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Walter.
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge. No. Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden.
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
That's on the friendly amendment.
No.
That's on the motion.
That's the motion.
That's the motion. Got it. All right. So
Number 11, I think.
lost in the weeds there. All right. Motion number 11, that the common council recognize that Toma Development Consultants provides the city with grant assistance services, including but not limited to funding needs analysis, grant funding research, on-call grant research, grant proposal development and applications, and the council recognizes the current number of grants that Toma is assisting the city with, and the required intimate knowledge and background regarding various grants. Therefore, the common council authorizes a waiver of provisions within the city's purchasing policies and procedures for formal procurement for grant writing services, and further authorizes contracting with Toma Development Consultants through 2025 at a cost not to exceed $15,000 annually. Do I have a motion to approve? Don, followed by Bryce. And so you're on the board. And do we have discussion? Yes, Scott.
How often do we go out and, like an RFP, RFQ for our getting ready services?
Jim, do you remember, or Jim, the last time we did an RFP for this?
The last time we did it was in 2016, and it was a 4-year contract, and the contract allowed 2-year extensions that took us through 2020. So 21 and 22, in 23, we did something very similar to this motion by extending it for Toma. And we plan on going out probably in the fall for another RFQ, I believe it's going to be, for another 5-year contract. So this is just to cover us for 2024. I know the motion says 2025. I wrote it that way just in case something hinders us from doing it in the fall.
And I'd rather go just in the end of the year, so we have to put it out. I mean, we're getting, this is kind of a sticky point that I've had for a while, is we do this, and we extend, and we extend, and we extend, and then it's, you know, I think we need to turn it a little bit quicker and keep going out and not always exercise that. I think that's an issue that,
It's fine with me, Scott, if you want to do it just for 24.
I mean, that's my personal hang up. There's still 7 others, I mean, that's.
Because we have it on the tickler file for September to go out for RFQ, just so you know.
So it's already on file about the fall? Okay.
But you just said if we got hung up, and.
Yeah, and just in case something happens that, you know.
So you have nothing in place right now? To get you through the end of
Correct,
24?
correct, we don't have the authority right now to pay Toma anything for their work. This will give us the authority for 2024. And they are involved in a number of things.
Can you just refresh my memory, can you just give me a couple things that they're doing for us that's, I don't have.
I was gonna say, can you finish that?
Judy.
Oh, Judy's, I didn't see you, Judy, I'm sorry.
Alright, so, grant applications that they're currently working on, they just submitted a new enterprise grant application. That's gonna go, to the state's board meeting in June, so we'll have an answer in June. They're working on a second one for, another business that received a large grant, years ago that was expanding. They've met with us and 2 separate business owners about economic development grants. We're waiting to hear if those businesses are going to apply. They're 2 current city businesses. We're also going to be talking to them about some grants that we think we're going to be applying for in this round of the consolidated funding application. One of the reasons why we don't want to do an RFQ right now is because the CFA just opened and it's going to be due in July. So all of these grant writing firms are going to be buried right now, so it's the worst possible time to do that. So the fall would be a better time. Recent successful grants that they've written for us, actually, since I started, I've worked on 26 grant programs that they, well, not quite. Not including all of the micros, which I believe they wrote the applications for most of these. But it's at least 20 programs that I've worked on that they've got the funding for us for. Current ones that I'm working on include the new housing grant that we just received for single-family housing rehab, the lead service lateral replacement program, which is also a housing grant, the local waterfront revitalization program, the brownfield opportunity area program, the housing conditions planning grant, the armory planning grant, money on a theater roof replacement. Let's see, the Harvard College Grant Innovation Center equipment grant. So those are current ones that are ongoing, but they wrote the application for all of those. And I've been here 7.5 years, and like I said, I've been working on more than 20 of the programs that they have funded, they've got the funding for us for. Not to mention that Rich Cunningham owns Toma. He's a New York Main Street certified planner. He's an expert in the New York Main Street program and the CDBG funding programs, the housing programs. He's just an asset that it would be very difficult to do what we do without him and his knowledge. And I call, if he's not right there, he calls me back the same day, and he's just a wealth of information. So it's really important that we have him and have that firm.
Good. I think we can take the vote.
Councilmember Murphy? Aye. Councilmember Walsh Russo? Aye. Councilmember McHugh? Aye. Councilmember LaFarge? Aye. Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Abstain.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendelson?
Yes.
All right, motion number 12 of the Common Council authorizes the submission of a grant application to the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities Program for $15,000 to fund the completion of building energy studies of city-owned buildings at 258 Main Street, which is City Hall, 7981 Main Street, which is the Public Safety Building, and 24 Burtis Lauren Drive, which is the Branner Building, as well as to partially fund the purchase of an electric mower and trimmer to replace existing gas-powered equipment, and further authorizes the city administrator to sign all documents and agreements necessary to execute a grant agreement and complete the project subject to review by the city attorney. The Common Council further authorizes any necessary budget amendments and transfers. Do I have a motion to approve? Luke, was that you?
I did, I saw Scott's hand up, but I'm happy to take it.
It's your last meeting.
And second?
I'll second.
There you go. All right, discussion. Okay, in the case we'll take a vote.
Councilmember Murphy? Aye. Councilmember Walsh Russo? Aye. Councilmember McHugh? Aye. Councilmember LaFarge? Aye. Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendelson?
Yes.
All right, this is motion number 13 that the Common Council approves the following resolution. The City of Oneonta resolution intent to declare lead agency in the secret review, whereas 6 NYCRR Part 617 of the State Environmental Review Law requires that a lead agency be established for conducting an environmental review of projects in accordance with local and state environmental law, and whereas state law specifies that for actions governed by local environmental review, the lead agency shall be that local agency which has primary responsibility for approving and funding or carrying out the action. And whereas at its meeting on July 5, 2023, the City of Oneonta Common Council approved the deer management program, which provides for a three-phase approach to address the impacts of deer on the City of Oneonta. And whereas this is an unlisted action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRET, which requires review, therefore be it resolved that the City of Oneonta Common Council, by way of this resolution, is declaring its intent to act as lead agency in environmental review for the proposed implementation of the City of Oneonta Deer Management Program. Do I have a motion to approve? Katie, followed by Don. And discussion. In that case, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo? Aye. Councilmember McHugh? Aye. Councilmember LaFarge? Aye. Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendelson?
Yes.
All right, bringing us to Market Street Transportation Improvement Projects Change Order Review, discussion and,
Sorry. My discussion. Yeah, so this is one of those things that it's, as I explained in the memo, it's not over the budget, it doesn't require a motion to amend the budget, it's well within the overall project budget, because this particular contract, which is with Ahrefs and Son, their plumbing contracts, would be an increase of over 10% of that original contract amount. It's actually closer to 51.2% increase because it's over 10%. The way our change order policy reads, that would be a finance HR committee, or in the absence of that, the council, having a chance to understand and review that. So there's not a motion required, but an opportunity for you to understand the reasoning why this change order is necessary. So as I explained in the memo, we had issued bid for fire protection contracts, separate from the plumbing contracts, separate from HVAC, separate from electric, separate from general, separate from site utilities, a number of different contracts for this large building and site work project. No bidders responded to the request for bids for the fire protection contract, so rather than going back out to bid again, we asked Truxton as the plumbing contractor if they would give us a proposal to do a change order on the plumbing contract to also do the fire protection work. So when we discussed with the city attorney, it's an allowable thing to do. They did come back with a proposal. Ultimately, Wendell and the city team have reviewed that and agreed that it's something we recommend going forward with. So that is what this change order will do. We'll assign the fire protection construction work to Truxton under their plumbing contract. Obviously, that's what resulted in that large percentage increase on the contract. So it's essentially doing two pieces of the work under.
Greg, is this the fire protection during the construction?
No, for like sprinkler systems, fire protection, alarms in the building.
Okay. I was a little confused, but. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the bid that they gave for the additional work, was that within what Wendell thought that should come in, or was it above that?
It was above Wendell's, there were final engineer's estimate, which was from November of last year. But after much discussion about that, we just felt that, you know, at risk of slowing the contract down, if we were to go out to bid again, it'd be another couple month process, and at risk of potentially getting no bidders again, or getting likely a similar number to what we got in the change order, you know, we felt that it would be more sense to go forward with it, even though it was higher than their estimate.
Approximately how much higher?
The change order is 150,000, their estimate was more like 100. So about 50,000.
Thank you.
Anything more required of this, or is this not that folks know?
Can we take a pause? Everyone's kind of, I think, people use the bathroom.
Yes, sir.
I think, do you mind if we just pause for a second? Or am I?
Are we in the middle of a motion? Should we vote?
We don't need a motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really just a matter of, yeah, you know, 5 minutes.
River Street for a few months and moved out to Asheville. And lived there.
Right, okay, so we're back and we're looking at motion number 15, not a motion actually, but 15 is our staffing review we'd like to spend some time talking about, and with that, again, I will turn it over to
Thanks, Mayor. As you know, our HR director has resigned, taken another position elsewhere. He'll be here about another month until he moves on to that position. And you know Dave Corey, who's sitting over there tonight, he's our senior HR specialist. We've been having conversations about staffing and where we go from here in the HR department. And I asked him to come tonight to kind of talk about, from his perspective, he's been here in the HR department since 2015 and has been in the city much longer than that. So I'd like him to share a kind of boots on the ground perspective, what the situation is in HR, his thoughts on how we can move forward from here. We've had a lot of discussion about it the last couple of weeks or the week or whatever it's been. So I'd just like to share that with you, have a discussion. This does, as a reminder, we did discuss briefly in the budget process last fall, for the 2024 budget, adding a position to the Human Resources Office. That was a short discussion, given, my sense from the council at the time was that there wasn't support for that overall, given, the budgeted deficit that we were proposing and the fact that we have given out large raises. So it didn't really change the reasoning for that request. That was based on the observed need for additional staff to complete the duties of the office. So given the turnover we're experiencing yet again here now, we'd like to revisit the overall picture of HR and talk about that as we move forward. So let me rambling on more, I'll hand it over to Steve and take us through the handbook.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, everybody. So my name is David Corey, and I've been with the city for 18 years. My first 9 years were in Parks and Recreation, and after spending many years onboarding and offboarding 50 to 60 employees every summer, they decided maybe I'd be useful in HR. So I went up there, and I've worked for 3 personnel/HR directors, and they were all very, very capable professionals, and I learned a lot from all of them. So what I'm about to show you is, in essence, what we call in the civil service world a classification study. The tools that I used to put this together are tools that the state taught me when I went to civil service school in 2018, and I think we need to start looking at departments in this manner in this city. So of course the easiest one for me to do is the one I've been working in the last 9 years. And that's where we're going to start. So I'd like to start off by explaining why I think our status quo is broken and when it broke. In my opinion, it broke in 2014. It's been 10 years. And that is when the council at the time decided to reduce the staff in the HR office from a staff of 3 to a staff of 1.3. It was a drastic change, and ever since then, HR has been trying to catch up and trying to figure out a way to function without a lot of staff. We've gotten to the point now, we're at 2.5, which is still not enough, as you're about to see. We need more people in the HR office. So, first of all, I think it's very appropriate that I'm here for this meeting, because the very first set of interviews that I participated in when I moved up to HR was interviews for the recreation assistant position. So it's very fitting that I get to make this presentation on the day that Lou Lansing was honored. Meg Hungerford and I performed those interviews, and I think we made a wonderful choice. And I thank Lou for her service. I also thank Lou for his service. all the staff has had to see you done, so. So the problem started in 2014. Ever since then, Katie Becker and Joe Tending have asked for more staff and have been denied more staff. The only exception being during the pandemic when we were allowed to add a part-time employee, and I'm happy to have her here with us today. Nancy Allison for 20 hours a week is my right hand, and I appreciate everything she does. So why is the status quo broken? We have 3 people in the office. Let's start by looking at the Human Resources Director. The Human Resource Director job duties are stated on this slide. These duties constitute a full-time job. Just doing this stuff is full-time. A lot of these types of duties take the HR director out of the HR office. These duties require the HR director to be in a lot of meetings at City Hall, and therefore that person, whether it was Kathy, Katie, or Joe, were not able to be boots on the ground in the HR office, helping with the day-to-day operations of that office. Their responsibilities lied outside of our office for at least half of their work week, for the most part. More so when Katie was also functioning as, assistant city administrator. The second person in the office is me. This is our senior human resources specialist. And you will notice when you look at this job that the vast majority of my responsibilities don't lie in human resources at all. I'm your civil service person. I'm the civil service secretary. I'm responsible for civil service administration for the city of Oneonta, the Oneonta City School District, Huntington Memorial Library, and the Oneonta Housing Authority. That's a lot of people. So anytime I'm stepping out of this role into HR roles, I'm taking away from civil service. And civil service, as my friends in Monroe County like to say, is not a suggestion, it's the law. We need to be compliant with civil service. It's important, and I am steadfastly devoted to the concept of civil service. So that leaves everything else. And you'll notice the font on this slide just got really small. There's a lot more in this office that has to be done. I estimate that the amount of duties on this page constitute about 100 hours of weekly work. So we have a 20-hour part-time employee that does as much as she possibly can in that 20 hours and does a great job with it. And Joe and I attempt to hit as many of these things as we can on a weekly basis. Some of them we can't avoid because payroll comes every 2 weeks. And I don't think we've missed any paychecks. I don't think anybody here has. So we're doing pretty well there. But things have gotten complicated in 10 years too, okay? First and foremost, recruiting. My first year, we would run an ad in the Daily Star. It took 10 minutes to send the ad off and we'd get 80 applicants. That's not how you recruit in 2024 anymore. Recruiting is a full-time job now. Human benefit administration is far more complicated than it was 10 years ago, especially with the new plan that we instituted this year. That plan is incredibly stressful on our office. It is creating a ton of work. Now, I think that's going to get better, but right now it's creating a ton of work. So, what's our problem? Our problem is we are allocated 100 hours for workforce. Joe works 40, well, Joe is supposed to be 40, I am supposed to be 40. Nancy, we really do try to make her stick to 20. We have 200 hours worth of work to do. Every single week, the HR office is falling behind by 100 hours of work. Every single week. And this has been snowballing for 10 years. It has to stop. We have to properly staff this office. It has to be done. This office touches every single other employee in the city of Oneonta. The library, the school district, and the housing authority, they're all affected as well. We also serve all of our retirees, anybody who's ever worked for us in the past, and anybody that's seeking a job for the city of Oneonta. All of them are coming to us, and we need to be providing them better service because we're not doing that right now. How do we change? So when I first started looking at this, my thoughts started with, okay, why are we here? What do we do? Why do I think the City of Oneonta HR office exists? So I Googled, how do you write a mission statement? And this is what I came up with. The mission of the Oneonta Human Resources Department is to help build and retain an exceptional staff of employees for the City of Oneonta that will serve the city with integrity and distinction. Recruiting and employee advancement will be conducted on principles of integrating inclusion, diversity, and equity with rigorous adherence to the ideals of civil service. Retention will be achieved through superior emphasis on service to employees, retirees, and job seekers, as well as a commitment to programs that will improve employee safety and welfare. The Human Resources Department will value every individual that has served, is serving, or wishes to serve the citizens of the City of Oneonta. Every day, the goal of the department will be to serve those individuals with the same level of efficiency and dedication that we expect of them in their service to this community. That's what I want to do every day. That's what I want to do. So how do I accomplish this? Well, we're going to need more staff. And this is a unique opportunity to add more staff and maybe save a little. We're going to be spending money, but not as much as we would if we weren't doing it right now because we have a vacancy. So when I look at building a team, I think of it as a team. I hear a lot of times when I listen to these meetings, folks use the terms Native Americans and Chiefs. We're HR, we don't do that. I'm going to talk in terms of players and coaches. That's what we need. We need coaches and players. Right now, the HR office has a fantastic player, but she can only play 10 minutes a game. We have 2 coaches. It's not enough players. That ratio is wrong. We need to reverse it. So let's start with our first coach, our only coach. I'm proposing the establishment of a position that I'm going to refer to as Principal Human Resources Specialist, and this is replacing the HR Director. I see this position as a division head, not department head level position. So if you think of that, if you equate it to, like, let's say DPW department, I'm equating to this to the chief of our wastewater treatment plant, or the chief for our water treatment plant, or the supervisor of the buildings and grounds group. That's what I'm equating this position to. I am not equating this to a department head level position. This is a division head position. The goal of this position is to spend 75% less time out of the HR office than that of a director. A director needs to spend a lot of time out of the office. I designed this to be in the office. I want this person to match the mission statement. Their goal is to serve our people, not necessarily by being in more of a direct way than an HR director does. All right, the second position that I'm proposing, this replaces the Senior Human Resources Specialist. This again saves $15,000 a year in salary. We are replacing the Senior HR Specialist with an HR Specialist. This is our first player, okay? This player is going to be, their primary responsibility is to serve the employees, the retirees of the city of Oneonta. That's what they are going to do. This person is going to be tasked with making sure that when somebody has a problem with their insurance, it actually gets remedied as quickly as humanly possible. This person is going to make sure that if somebody needs a retirement consultation, we're going to get it done as quickly as possible. This person is going to make sure that onboarding happens in a timely manner. Their entire focus is going to be to make the lives of the 184 employees of the City of Oneonta and the library better by serving them directly. That's their sole focus. The second player that I'm proposing is a second human resources specialist. This is the position that's been requested last year by Joe Temming, 2020, I believe, by Katie, and I believe one other time by Katie as well. We need this position. The main primary purpose of this position is going to be recruiting. They are gonna be our team builder. This is the person that's gonna go out there and find us our next great accountant that could lead to become a finance director for the city of Oneonta. This is the person that's gonna go out there and they're gonna find somebody that's highly qualified to come in if we want an arborist, or if we want other positions that this body has discussed over the last few months. That's gonna be their job. They're gonna fill vacancies. The second part of this position is they're gonna be responsible for compliance, because we are very, very sorely in need of that. We need somebody that is going to ensure that we are in compliance with all the regulatory stuff that our office is responsible for. All three of these positions, as you're seeing them, are demanding full-time positions, and they are absolutely in need for the city of Oneonta. The fourth full-time position that I'm proposing for this department is an administrative specialist. This is our point guard. This is the person that's gonna sit up front. They're gonna take Nancy's desk. And I'm proposing that this is a split. This is a 50-50 split between Parks and HR. This is going to become the new Lansing, in addition to becoming a face for HR. This is going to give our constituents in the park a person that they can come and see 40 hours a week on a regular schedule. They're serving that population in addition to being the point guard for our HR office. So when somebody comes in and they need something, this person's gonna make sure they get to the right professional HR person that's gonna be able to serve them the best. So basically, and then the last piece of this puzzle is Nancy. Nancy is being utilized, she is currently in the clerk role, she is doing specialist work, and we need to put her in the right title, and I'm proposing that we do that. She needs to be on the same level as those other human resources specialists that we have coming in. She's gonna be training them, and she's gonna be doing their work when they're on vacation or out sick and stuff like that. She deserves to be paid equitably with those people. So what's this do for us? This brings our workforce from 100 hours to 160 hours. Now, I know I said that we're closer to 200 hours worth of work. Well, I'm hoping that by the principal human resources specialist being in the office more and not having to spend as much time at City Hall, that a lot of that stuff is going to come down. I also feel like with greater efficiency, with having more people working, we're going to work more efficiently and there's going to be less burnout. We're going to be able to get more work done. That's a big bet, but I'm willing to take it, and I think if I can put together the right team, I can pull it off. I really do. I think if you give 160 hours to this department, and you budget 160 hours worth of people, that we can make it something that's a lot closer to this mission statement that I put together than what we're doing right now. Is it all the way there? Only time will tell. We won't know for potentially years. But it's gonna get us a lot close, and if nothing else, it'll get us to the point where we're compliant. And that's absolutely essential. We have to get there. All right. So the specifics on what we gain here. What are we gaining? We're gaining a staff member that has a primary focus on recruiting. That's an area that we're struggling with because we don't have time to do it properly. We're gaining a staff member that has a primary focus on employee service. Again, that's an area that we are struggling with because we just don't have the time. This is giving us a more efficient allocation of city resources because we're reducing the salary of the top 2 HR positions by roughly $30,000. So, am I asking for more money? Yes, but I'm looking at it in a more efficient way by reducing those top salaries by $30,000. Now, if you add in the fact that we're also enveloping the duties of Blue Lansing, that's bringing the savings now to about $62,000 total. As opposed to what we could do if we were doing this outside of having vacancies. This is giving us a new forward-facing member of the park staff with expanded public office hours. This is giving us a forward-facing member of the HR staff that will be able to answer most questions from the public and many questions without staff causing interruptions to higher level employees. So if we've got somebody focusing on specialist level work, Right now, I'm the one that's answering the phone if Nancy's gone, and it's interrupting that work. I'm not saying that that's not important, we need to answer the phone. But you have somebody who's answering the phone, answering a very basic question that you're paying a lot more money to than is necessary to be doing that work. It's important for us to have that point guard. We're getting better and more timely compliance with regulatory requirements. We're getting better and more responsive service to our outside civil service agencies. I think I'm actually doing pretty well with that right now, but I can do better. And then this plan correctly classifies a part-time clerk into a title that is more appropriate to the work that she's performing for the city. So with these next couple of slides, I want to make a point that I am not in any way trying to dictate to this body. I would never dream of doing that. But what I am doing is I want to give you my professional opinion on a timeline that we need to be able to move forward with a decision without significant catastrophic interruptions to service. And when I say we're critical right now, we are absolutely critical right now. If June 21st comes around and we haven't added someone, we're going to go to a level where things aren't going to get done. And we're talking about the possibility of missing payrolls. We need to stay at 2.5. We can't get to June 21st, which is Joe's resignation date, and not have someone hired. I've done it twice, this will be the third time. The weight of that went on my shoulders, I'm not doing it again. I can't do it like I did when Katie left the first time or the second time. It's just too much for one person. So we need to get someone in here. So what am I asking? First of all, I'm asking that this body acknowledge that this is a priority and allow me to start recruiting for an HR specialist. This isn't in any way tying you into anything. All I'm asking to do is to start recruiting and start looking. It won't be the first time we've recruited a position and then ended up not hiring. But I want to bring a potential appointment to you on June 4th for one HR specialist, okay? So that we have somebody up and running by the time Joe's ready to leave. I'm also asking that they establish the title Principal HR Specialist, and either temporarily or provisionally appoints an incumbent to that title. I am asking that to be me. Again, the last 2 times I did this, I took on a lot without getting anything. And this is not selfish, there needs to be, if you're gonna have somebody that's functioning in a division head type of role, you need to have them functioning under a job spec. And I'm not saying that you're committing to this permanently, I'm just asking for you to do it on a temporary basis until we have a decision that is permanent for this office, a solution that works for the people and the citizens and the employees of the city of Lynn. The other thing I'm asking is that if needed, we look at a budget adjustment to promote Nancy at that meeting, or the day after that meeting. Now Nancy was out for several weeks this year, so we might actually have enough money in the budget this year to be able to do that without a budget adjustment. I can ask Ginny to look at that.
We do.
I would like to promote her as soon as possible because she's doing higher level work and she deserves not to be getting paid slightly more than labor. Not to belittle what they do at all. I don't mean to do that at all. And then if through recruitment, I can identify somebody and I can have somebody vetted and ready to go for June 4th, I would like you to consider appointing that person. That's at least an acknowledgement that we need to add one. And I hope that by presenting this, you can agree that we need to add more than one, but it keeps us from falling below our current staffing level when Joe resigns. So next, I want people to be thinking about July 2nd, okay? I want people to be thinking about, in fact, that's 6 weeks away. And if there are other ideas about what to do with this office, I will gladly listen to them. I have no ego here. I don't care if you decide to bring people in above me, below me, or beside me. It doesn't matter to me in the least, as long as I get help. That's what I need here. I need help, and if somebody else has a better idea than this and it delivers help, then that's fantastic. But I'm telling you, you need 160 hours. Maybe 200 if you're gonna stick with a direct repair. But if we're gonna reduce those salaries to take advantage of the fact that we have these 2 vacancies and we can shift some money around, it's a more economical plan than sticking with the director paradigm. And if you think about it, we've had 3 really capable directors, and people might scoff at this, but I firmly believe that if in 2014 we hadn't cut the staff out from under Kathy Wolverton, the discussion we'd be having right now is her succession planning. She'd be getting ready to retire next year. And I firmly believe that she was perfectly capable of continuing in that role if she had had the appropriate staff at that time. So I am asking that 6 weeks, I mean, I think that that's plenty of time for this body to listen to other plans, come up with other plans. If you wanna talk to me, come talk to me. I'm in the park, I'm there a lot. I'm perfectly willing to talk about what I think this department needs. And if other people have ideas, like I said, I don't have an ego. I want more people in those offices in the park. The last thing is that I would ask that if you look at a solution for the Parks Administrator and maybe separate that out from the rest of the plan, that we want to get somebody into that position as quickly as possible so that we don't have a break in service to that population and the folks in the park. So if that's something that you can think of separately and think about, okay, this is a good idea. Having that person in the park full-time is not only gonna be potentially a different way of looking at her duties, but it's also gonna be a really, really key tool to having clerical help for our parks, buildings, and ground staff, which could really use it, to have somebody right there on site that can do orders for them, make schedules for them, and a professional clerical person to help that staff. So, all that being said, I have thrown a ton of things at you, and again, I want to thank Greg for letting me do it, because it is incredibly unorthodox for a staff member to be addressing this body. But I've been here 18 years, and I feel like that experience carries some weight with it. I also kind of feel like I have a bit of a clean ledger too. I've never asked for anything in 18 years. So, directors have asked for stuff and they haven't gotten it. Maybe with a little bit of a different approach, by asking for it in a different way and from a different person, maybe we can get a different result from this body. So with that, I'm gonna have a seat, and I please ask any of you to ask me any questions that you have.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So essentially you're asking for an expansion of the bureaucracy, so what does it cost now and what would it cost with your plan?
So first of all, I am not in any way asking for an expansion of bureaucracy. I'm actually asking for a reduction of the bureaucracy, okay? I'm asking for the shift of the workflow to go from being very highly weighted to highly compensated people and shifted down to lower compensated positions. So to me, that's reducing bureaucracy. We are trading general managers and coaches for players. Okay, so now to answer your numbers. So your numbers. Okay. So if we were going to implement a plan similar to this and stick with the HR paradigm, the HR director paradigm, we'd be looking at $175,000 a year. Now, by doing it this way, where we're reducing the top salaries and absorbing Lou's salary into the plan, that brings the cost down to about $92,000 a year, which I know is still a very high. Yep, go
I just
ahead.
want two numbers, like,
Yep.
what does it cost to run this now, and then what would the new paradigm cost?
Okay, so what it costs now, I don't have that. Greg's got it.
So the numbers that Dave gave were kind of the differences. So what it costs now for this setup.
And that's just HR director, senior HR specialist, and part-time HR.
Part-time Lou and part-time Nancy.
Part-time HR, recreation.
Okay.
We add those together, that is $288,374 in salary, FICA retirement.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, $288,000 in salary, FICA, healthcare, and retirement costs.
Right.
And that's for what, the HR, the way it's
That's what we have.
The way it's set up right now.
And the loose position, the part-time
I
recreation.
don't want to lose position, I want HR,
Okay.
the way it is right now, the way this office runs now. How much is that?
$250,000.
250?
Yes.
Thank you.
Obviously, that's not including all the other costs associated with the office, so
Mhm.
non-personal.
And what's the 288?
No, it's not.
That's just not-
288.
It is.
288 included the Parks Administrator position.
I can't hear you.
288 included the Parks Administrator position.
So it's 250 now, and what's it going to? What would it go to?
So with the proposal that, the reason that we were including the part-time recreation is because the proposal includes absorbing those duties. So it's not apples to apples when you compare the numbers now, because we're looking at 250 instead of 288. But the new number would be 380. That's including a principal HR specialist, 2 HR specialists, an administrative specialist, and a part-time HR specialist.
And you said 308?
That is 380.
380.
There's 308.
Keep in mind, again, the administrative specialist is taking on duties of the part-time recreation business.
So you almost do really need to kind of factor in the Parks and Rec position.
Yeah.
So we would be comparing 288 to 380.
So
That's
can
how
I?
we were.
Right, so the Parks and Rec salary needs to be figured in here.
No, because take the Parks and Rec out of everything.
But
If
they're
we're-
taking on.
No, I know that,
What's the
but
starting salary
for a minute
for
here,
HR specialist?
I wanna do HR to HR. And then.
But Scott, the problem with doing that
But
is.
we're not seeing, but we don't even know if we're gonna do the plan of doing the Parks Administrator in this yet.
Okay.
So I need to know, what is it gonna be if we don't put that Parks and Rec person in right now? If it's just, if we're gonna do HR to HR, make sure the HR is set, if we don't go to that.
And just to be clear, so you're saying that the administrative specialist that I'm proposing would be 100% allocated to HR as opposed to being a split allocation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Those are the numbers I shared.
Okay.
Just to clarify, $380,000 for the new positions.
Okay. And that's just 1 year, right? Because every year it's gonna go up more.
I mean, that's
Legacy
the,
costs and all that.
yeah, I mean,
I just wanna make sure I'm on the same page with this, you know what's gonna move. Okay. Thanks.
I have a couple of civil service questions.
Please.
So, HR specialist, is there an existing list?
There is.
Okay, that's heartening. And Greg answered my question about the starting salary of that position and the grade, do you know what that is?
A1 in the administrative manual or A2?
HR specialist A1.
A1.
I think it's 47 to 55 is the range. In the numbers that I just read off, I assume 50. Assumption for a moment.
Okay. I think that was actually all my questions.
Okay.
So thank you.
I was hoping for some questions about like the history of civil service or something like that.
I will chat with you about civil service.
All right, that sounds good.
Actually, let me just say before we move on, I do similar work to Dave, and I have known, first of all, Dave is a tireless employee. He's always here, he drives a long way to be here, really dedicated member of the city staff, and I've known for years, right, that you have been nonstop. I call and he's always in the middle of something, and it's not like, oh, I don't have time to talk to you. It's like, I know he doesn't have time to talk to me, so I always try to be as quick as possible. But now that I kind of like do this kind of stuff, I understand just how stressful, because payroll comes around every 2 weeks, and you have to
It's like a
stop what you're doing. And I'm thinking about it right now. I'm thinking about you all. I know you're thinking about it right now. And so I think the other piece, so just to say that it is, I can't believe that you and Nancy currently do this alone.
Finance helps a lot.
okay, right, okay, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to
Yes.
try to finance, but it's,
Stephanie in finance is a superstar in this city, and then, yeah.
it's hard work, everything is a priority, it's really stressful. And so, just to advocate for, you know, the fact that this is really a small team who's doing an elephant share of work for the city, because people don't get paid, they don't want to come to work. The other thing that I wanted to say has escaped my brain, so I'll stop now. But that's all, thank you.
I guess,
Scott, go for it.
you want civil service, I think I got it.
All right.
Do we have to, under civil service, administer the Oleana City School District stuff, the Huntington Memorial Library, and the,
Housing authority.
We do, yes, because they are so if the Oneonta City School District moved their headquarters to the town of Oneonta, they would suddenly become Otsego County's problem. But the fact that their headquarters are on Center Street means they're our problem, not our problem. They are our responsibility. Reggie McGinnis is fantastic to deal with, and it's one of my most favorite people that I work with on a daily basis. So, they are, the school, that is why they fall under us. It has all to do with their physical locations within the city of Oneonta.
okay, so, follow, does payroll have to be under HR? Can payroll go into like the finance?
But then you're just shifting it and the need becomes them. So part of the restructuring, and if you want to get into some of the more nitty-gritty details that I am proposing, is some shifts in the responsibilities between finance and HR. And one of them is a heavier percentage of payroll would go to them, and a heavier percentage of benefit administration would come to us. And the reason I think that that's a more efficient solution is because we are a forward-facing department. Finance, at least to the employees, is not. They are a forward-facing department when it comes to people paying water bills and stuff like that. But for our employees, they come to us. We are the forward-facing folks for that. So if those are the folks that are coming to us with questions, whether it's a retiree or whether it's a current employee, then it makes more sense for us to be able to answer a higher percentage of those questions without having to defer to finance. So that is something that I am looking at, but I do feel like there needs to be a trade there. It can't be just to give it away. And if you are just giving it away, you're just increasing the need for staff for them.
Hold on, I got two more, hold on.
Good, what you got?
And then, with your location now, because you said that, you know, it takes them out of the office, they have to come up here to City Hall, most of their stuff is up here to City Hall. Maybe it'd be more advantageous to move you guys back up here?
What I mean is that the person is not working in the office. So that had as much impact, Katie not being in the office had the same impact for her being 10 feet away in this room in the meeting that it does now for Joe to be a half a mile away in this room. It doesn't matter, the impact is the same. The advantages of the HR office in the park are monumental. It has been such a staggering success that bus drivers can pull up in a bus, the water folks can pull up in the camel truck, the folks that need our services can come in and get quick service without having to go to their personal vehicles or try to park a water truck in the middle of the City Hall parking lot or things like that that used to happen. Then there are tons of other examples, and including one that was, I absolutely feel like we saved a life last year that would not have been a saved life if we weren't in the park. The privacy that the park affords us is tremendous, and people are I am seeing people much more likely to come talk to me about things that they wouldn't have when we were in the corner penthouse of the Ivory Castle. They come to talk to me now that we're down at their level, and it has absolutely made a difference in the service that we provide to our employees.
My last one, I promise you. Back to what Shannon was saying about if we incorporated the U288, I said I didn't forget, with the Parks Administrator now, can you give me a little bit of how that dual role would work?
Absolutely.
Because I know you hit it real quick, but then.
So, and this is part of Luke can attest that I've spent a lot of time with her this month. okay? I really did analyze this, you know, I didn't wanna have to put her through a whole desk audit, I know she was really busy, but we went through the exercise of a desk audit. And it was the easiest desk audit I will ever do because I did her job for 9 years, okay? So I really just needed to know how she's changed it. And it is, everything that she does absolutely falls within the specification, the civil service classification of administrative specialist. I'm absolutely positive of that. And regardless of whether this body decides to go forward with a plan that would incorporate that position into HR, I still feel strongly that we're gonna civil service is gonna reclassify the position to the title administrative specialist. It's the appropriate position. So that being said, what's the advantage of putting in the park? Because if you look at an organizational plan for the city of Oneonta, putting in HR makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and I absolutely recognize that. There's two absolute advantages. One is location. The fact that that our Parks, Buildings, and Grounds supervisor will be able to hop off whatever piece of equipment he's in and come in and ask that person to place an order, as opposed to have to come up here and talk to Mary Ann. It's gonna take stuff off of Mary Ann's plate too, in the fact that she's not going to have to do a lot of the stuff that we're gonna have this person do. This, I very much vision the 20 hours a week that this person would be spending in this job as the last year that I spent in the park. And it's a very, very close, when, after recreation was gone and that last year that I spent in the park and we were only doing parks, I was twiddling my thumbs bored. And that's why I made the request to move, and they eventually found the place, and I'm so grateful that they found the place in HR for me. It can be done in the 20 hours. And the other thing is that when I see the people coming in and out of Lou's office, those personalities and names haven't changed in the 9 years since I've stopped doing it. So I feel like I'm in a very good place to be able to provide valuable supervision to this employee because of my very unique history with the city of Oneonta, having spent 9 years in HR and 9 years in Parks and Recreation. So that's where I feel like, even though in a typical org structure, this doesn't make sense, for our city, it does, because of the location of the HR office and because of my history with the city.
Thanks.
Does that help?
Yep, it was very helpful, thank you.
Good.
I hope you don't think I was beating you up.
No, please, no, I am not gonna feel that way. I expect this is a big ask, and I recognize that. But I just hope that people understand that HR is a cornerstone, and we can't keep underselling that cornerstone, because it's the entire foundation of the city is gonna crumble under that cornerstone if we don't do something.
Further from Cal.
What you got?
Well, actually, no question, just a comment. I think, we talk an awful lot about how we can make Oneonta more efficient, how we can attract more people, how we can invest in our future. And I want to commend you for bringing this before us. I think Greg does a fantastic job of relaying the needs of the staff to council, but it's also nice to hear from staff their needs directly. We talk an awful lot about bringing new ideas into the city, and seeing, bringing this from kind of the best practices into government practice is something that is kind of the hope. And this sounds like it's really well researched, based on your, presentation. I know it is. And thank you for bringing it forward. I hope we can support it.
Thank you. I wish you were voting on it.
I just wanted to say one other thing that, peaked a flag in my brain, is that regulatory compliance can be very expensive sometimes, if you're out of compliance. And so I think when we think about adding personnel, you can't necessarily put all of the value that having more staff to specifically bring us into regulatory compliance, like the state does not hold back with fines and fees. So I know we probably don't have that data in front of us, but I'm certain they'll recognize some savings when it comes to that as well. So.
And just to.
Yeah, these positions will earn their keep for sure.
I'm not somebody that minces words, and one of my responsibilities to the city from a regulatory standpoint is that I am by statute required to issue a report on civil service to the state every year by March 1st. And my 2 March 1sts that I've been secretary, we have been in compliance with that, because civil service starts sending daily emails if you don't. this year's report, when I did say it, I said right out that we are deficient in many things when it comes to civil service, and that those deficiencies cannot be fixed until the staffing situation is fixed. So, like, it's just the truth. That's what it is. There's nothing I can do. And, like, I come to work every day with a stomachache because I know that somebody's gonna come ask me for something that's really important to them, and the answer has to be, there's something else I have to take care of that's more important. And that's the worst thing to ever have to possibly say to someone. And I try not to say it in those words, and absolutely, I never say it in those words, but that's really what I'm telling people when I'm telling them, hey, I gotta put this on the back burner, is that your problem is not as important as the thing that's right in front of me right now. And it's a horrible feeling to have every day. And I have to do it every day to a retiree, an employee, somebody. And I don't wanna have to do that anymore. I wanna have a staff that can serve the city, that can provide the level of services that our employees deserve, because we have an amazing staff. I am so fortunate to be in the seat that I am, because Joe and I and Nancy, we're the only people in the city that get to know every single employee of the city. Nobody else is in that position, and I'm so fortunate to be there because we have an awesome staff, and I wanna serve them better.
What do you do for the city school district?
We are responsible for civil service compliance for the city school district. So if you think about the school district, they have two sets of employees, okay? The catchphrase they like to use up there is certified or classified, meaning if they have a teacher certification, they fall under Board of Education compliance. If they don't, they fall under civil service compliance. And it's up to us to make sure that every hire that they make is in compliance with the law. It's up to us, every single application that comes to the school district for a civil service title has to be approved by me. Every single time they have a question about whether a classification is correct for one of their people, it's me that's performing that classification study. It really is.
And do they pay for this?
Yes, they do. Not enough.
Can you raise the fee?
Yes, we should.
Would that require the council to do that?
Yes, it would.
Sorry. And ours is what, 20? Stick it to them.
Jenny?
I would just like to add from Scott's question about shifting payroll to finance. Finance and HR work together to process payroll for a number of reasons. Finance does not have the expertise to interpret civil service law, Department of Labor law, or interpret the language in the contracts. We need HR for that. Also, we have checks and balances for internal controls between HR and finance. This way, we make sure that if an employee doesn't get put on our health insurance or our payroll, just to give you an example, we have many different checks and balances that we have to abide by. And that's why HR and payroll share the responsibilities of processing the payroll itself.
And I am certainly in no way proposing an elimination of those checks and balances. It's just a matter of making a higher percentage of payroll go there and a lower percentage of HR and benefits be there. So it's a subtle shift, but it is a shift that will be discussed nonetheless. Whether it actually comes to fruition, time will tell.
So David, you've given us a timeline that's going to inform certainly our next meeting, and so we'll have obviously some serious discussion around those deadlines that you provided.
Mayor, can I just
Yeah.
question? So you want to do this at the next meeting?
Looking at
To look at the timeline, but what are we gonna do about, what if the council wants to take and say, well, yeah, okay, we got this, but maybe we wanna look into other things, like maybe shared services with the county or another municipality and stuff like that, then we could kind of like do a different style of it, you know, where we maybe have some down like we have now, but some of it's, you know, over with another municipality that, to, you know, because of money.
So two things. David, it seemed like you wouldn't have put those dates up there if you didn't feel certain that these are dates that we need to be.
I am very much hoping that all of those things can be explored within the 6 weeks that I'm proposing that, you know, so countermeasures. So the countermeasure to avoid breaks in service for when Joe leaves, I'm asking for the one full-time position. Whether that ends up being a replacement for Joe, I mean, basically, you're just filling a vacancy at that point. You're filling a vacancy for the HR director. I'm talking this coming June 4th, okay? I'm asking that you agree that it's appropriate for me to start recruiting for that position, and if something gets adopted, that you consider their appointment at the next meeting. So that's a stopgap. That's helping us get through the month of June, okay? Then beyond that, what I'm looking for is like a final determination in July. And I definitely am open to having conversations about shared services. Those are definitely not conversations that I want to have in open session to start, but they are, I do have very strong opinions and feelings on those things, and I would very much like to discuss it with anybody that wants to discuss it.
Right. So to follow up on that, knowing that I think we all come to understand how busy you are. Nonetheless, it would seem that between council meetings, our next is June 4th, that you are making yourself available for some conversations with council members who may have ideas that you might be able to more fully flesh out.
Yes, absolutely. As long as Greg's okay with that, I do not want to breach the chain of command. But like, as long as Greg's okay with me having those conversations, I'm more than welcome. I do just ask that send me an email and I'll get you on my calendar. Because I'll pop in right now, might not be an efficient way to try to catch me there. You can look for my Volkswagen, and from there, I'll do my best to meet with you. But
Hear from Chris.
I just wanted to show my support for HR and his request. They're dealing with people that have life-changing situations. I had staff members that have lost significant others since I've been here. People are dealing with major surgeries, FMLA, and for them to have to make a choice between someone that has lost a family member or a surgery they have to have, or retirement discussions, it's not good. They're a support service for DPW, as well as all the other departments here at the city, and I support them. They are behind significantly. I mean, I've known about Lou's retirement for probably 2 or 3 months. They don't have a posting up yet. Have a new plan. I 100% support that plan. We have a laboratory technician that's we've known about for 2 months. They haven't been able to put a posting up. So those are just little glimpses. I could mention many others. I won't bore you with them, but I just want you to know that they are behind significantly and they need help. We need help for them.
thank you, Chris.
So if I understand Dave right,
Yeah.
he wants to at least bring the name, he's looking for support tonight so he can start doing it so that the next council meeting we're gonna have a name for us.
Which would technically be the replacement for Joe, yes.
Right.
But not in the same title.
But not the same title.
And that search is not, there's no requirement from council that we do anything more than say, begin here.
Even that's not a requirement, but I'm asking for it anyway.
Can I guess I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I support at least him going out,
As do I.
doing that to at least try to get a name for us.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word consensus, but it seems like we might have one.
Agreement?
Yes, thumbs up, yes, all the way around on that.
It'll be the first call I make tomorrow morning.
Excellent.
Very good.
Don't call me.
I won't.
Thank you for, we appreciate it. Is there anything that you wanted to add, Jim?
I just wanted to follow up on Chris's support for this. I support this proposal. I know what it's like to be short-staffed. I know what it's like to be under such stress. And the fact that we still have David, I think, is remarkable. And so, and as we said in the budget meeting, HR is the core of the city. And if your core breaks, it's going to have a chain reaction.
All right, well, David, thank you again for.
Then I use just 1 ounce of my goodwill before I leave this body and just say, Dave has worked so hard for HR and he is trying to do what's best for the city. And I know you all know that, but I had to say that. I think having a parks person in with another person that's in the office every day, all day long, is only gonna help our city parks. And I'm all about that, and, you know, this is the right thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
All right, again, so David, thank you for everything you do every day, and thank you very much for the amount of time that you've obviously put into this and the time that you've taken tonight in discussing it with us. Before we move into motion 16, I want to just talk about the discussion topic of interest strategic planning, as we are at the 3-hour and 17-minute marker here, and there is going to be an executive session that we need to move to. So I think we're all agreed that the strategic plan is something that we need to invest our time in more sooner than later. So I'd like to propose a couple of different things. Thank you again, David. A couple of different things. One is that we have a sense of council as to when we want to be fully formed around our strategic plan, and I would suggest, and I think Greg would concur, that if we can have that done by mid-July, that will move us into our finance and budget conversations in a way that would be, helpful. So I'd like to think, yes, Cecilia?
Oh, I don't want to interrupt.
Oh,
We're
okay.
still.
So I'd like to think maybe we can aim for mid-July, and what I'd like the council to consider is maybe we could meet just to discuss the strategic plan, take a couple of hours. It'll be a short meeting, we only take a couple of hours. And do that sometime between the 4th and the 18th, depending on what schedule will be, will allow.
Of June?
Of June, yes.
Oh.
Of June.
So my question was gonna be, how many meetings, would we devote to this?
I
planning,
think
and
we'll kind of see as we do this, how much progress we make in a couple of hours. I don't know the answer to that.
So you have a ballpark?
I don't. Greg, have a thought?
I mean, we scratched the surface of the level 2 discussion at the last meeting. It really is going to be council-led as far as how long that takes. I haven't been through this particular process before, so I would imagine it'd be more than one meeting. I would imagine it'd be 3 meetings, maybe, 3 discussions. It could be, we've attempted to do them as part of the regular council agenda.
Yes, that would not happen.
But I think it's be more than one discussion, and probably more than 2. I mean, it's a very important discussion we have. And I think, as the mayor suggested, mid-July, I suggested that because that's about when we normally talk about, the true process starting. So in order to be able to start looking at what our budget requests are and all of that, I think we need to have this plan sort of in place and what our priorities are.
Yeah, and knowing that we're looking at, that's why I asked to start with, if we're looking at mid-July, if we can kind of agree that that's a reasonable deadline for us, then that can kind of inform our calendars as well. Does that all make sense to folks? Does that make sense to everybody on both sides of the date?
And if I may make the suggestion that when we do meet, perhaps we could agree on a time frame for that meeting. So 2 hours per meeting.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would, for people's schedules,
Yes.
that would work. I can identify with that. So does that work for everybody? Yeah, it works. Okay. All right, and that's what we'll do. We're certainly not going to tackle that tonight, but we are going to tackle motion number 16. That the common council approves the following resolution. Whereas because of the resignation of Councilmember Luke Murphy, effective June 1, 2024, there will exist a vacancy for the position of Councilmember First Ward. And whereas the mayor, pursuant to the provisions of section C23 of the city charter, is given the power and directed therein to appoint a person to fill that vacancy until the next general election, subject to the approval of the common council, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor hereby appoints Elaine Mosher Campoli to fill that vacancy during the unfilled term of Ward 1 Councilmember Luke Murphy, and that the common council concurs with that appointment. This appointment is effective June 1, 2024, and will expire December 31, 2024, 7 months. So, do I have a motion to approve? Shannon, followed by Don. Discussion.
I have a question.
Yes.
If Elaine is a new council member, what about getting on the ballot for November? Hasn't that passed, the dates for that?
Board of Elections, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but Board of Elections advised our office that 2 months prior, because it was a vacancy of an existing position.
So it's possible then to get on the ballot?
Yes, and the expectation is, and I'll say this, I've met with 3 individuals that had expressed, or that I had been led to believe had expressed some desire to fill that position. I had about almost an hour with Rick, and we had a great conversation, and I'm going to put, the letters of recommendation, are, they have weight as far as I'm concerned, because I had a good conversation with Rick, and I, in fact, told him that whatever the decision was going to be, and at that point I hadn't made one, but the decision was going to be I wanted to get him involved in city government. But the reality of it is, in 7 months, which is basically if you're running for council, this is about the time you start, if you have an election in November, so 6 months to an election. I advised him that if he's interested in running for council, he should have at it, and certainly he's got support among, his constituents.
Yeah.
I did interview 3 folks, and I think, which is, again, all respect to Rick, who, is here today, which shows the kind of engagement that he has, and I'm impressed with that. But Elaine Mosher Campoli is a leader. She is an advocate of respectful conversation and dialogue that will get to a goal and is inclusive, has the courage of her convictions, and is so close in terms of, I'm here 29 months. And in that period of time, this will be the 4th council member who I've, nominated. Emily and Ed, Ed Overby, Chris Don, and they have not been rubber stamps to anything. But they have been the person in that moment that I felt was the best candidate and was most connective to the expectation of the previous council member. And so when you're talking about Luke Murphy, you're talking about somebody who's, as I said, empathetic, and it's all about diversity and inclusion, and generally speaking, respect. And that describes Elaine. And that's why I chose her. So that's some further discussion.
Just quick thing.
Yes.
For you, Mark, and Luke, was there just any data or feedback from First Ward residents? I know it was a quick, because it's.
No, I can't see that there was outside of my, being friends with people in the First Ward, living here 40 years. Elaine is highly, and Rick is very well respected as well. They are. Elaine has her own, support network. There's no doubt about that. And, but no, I didn't but I didn't do that for Don, I didn't do it for Emily, and I didn't do it for Ed. It's a nomination from the mayor, and it's my best judgment. And again, this is a 7-month charge as far as it goes.
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to ask, just with the history of council, because this is what I'm getting. I saw both Elaine and Rick's stuff, and obviously I just looked at Elaine first because that was the recommendation. You see, amazing resume and all these things that I think she'll do a great job. But at the same time, you kind of get things from residents from these interim, hey, was there a town hall? Was there discussion? So it gets kind of, I'm just being real. As a council member, it's hard to just be okay,
Yeah.
It's just I wonder, has this been the city's history with how we do interim?
Certainly.
I would like to discuss it in the future.
Sure, certainly that's not been the history. I think Bill brought up the fact that that was the history, maybe
20-something or other years ago. Every mayor would approach this differently. I look at, the nomination is something I take extremely seriously and spent, the good length of time to get to know Rick. As I said, I'm impressed with Rick. And as I said, I spoke with another interested individual as well. I don't think I have to go any deeper into it from that, but it's not been my history in making these appointments to have town halls or anything else like that. And it may be something that the council and a different mayor might decide that's what they want to do. But in this particular case, I interviewed those who I came to understand were interested, and again, I've made my nomination. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to ask?
I just want to align with what Bryce is saying, that I think this is something that needs to be addressed, and there needs to be like some sort of standard set in place for like your picks that you're suggesting, like, or whoever you are putting up. I think it is something we should look at later. But, if we follow the guidelines we used for Dawn and Dawn's appointment, this is what we did and this is how this happened. Right, and so we're just following in context to what's been the norm, but I think we need to address what the norm is.
And just to clarify, it's just a discussion for later, but it's just the process of, you get people invested and they come, and it's kind of like, well, either person could do a great job. So it's just, to me, it's not comfortable. I don't think I have the power unless the residents, tell me opinions and so forth, but.
Right, there's a difference though between, just not to jump on what you could say, but, so there'll be an election.
That was helpful, with Carrie's information, that was helpful.
And that's where the entire board, in fact, does vote on. Scott?
So, I don't know either individual, I'll be honest. So when I vote, it's nothing against anybody or for anybody. This is actually a hard thing for me to do, because I got what Rick sent and I got what you sent us about Lane. But you have deviated a little bit, because the last time, when you did Ed, you looked for somebody that wasn't gonna run for an election, because you said you didn't want to take it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we knew that we had two candidates, that's correct, yes.
Right, but I'm just saying, but that's what you did, and that to me meant a lot. This one here, I've never in my life have I had more calls from a different ward than what I got with this. And not being able to talk to either one of them before the meeting I know it's your right, but we have the ultimate, because we have to vote on it. I just, would have been nice to be able to have a little bit of time to talk. We got a Wednesday that this is what we were putting forward.
Wednesday night, and then
Wednesday night.
Katie asked for Mark Thursday.
Yeah.
And I got it, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's only been a couple of days.
Yeah, it's only been like a couple of days. And the other thing that I've been having a hold up with Mark is, and this is where I'm really looking at my vote, is I'd rather make a vote when the seat is completely vacated versus we got the resignation, stuff like that.
Luke will not be able
I
to vote.
know that.
Wait, no,
I'm
hold
just
on,
saying.
which I want to disagree with as well. Because for Dawn, Emily voted on Dawn. February 20th minutes, Emily was allowed to vote on Dawn's appointment. So why can't Luke vote?
I'm not saying Luke can't vote. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Luke can't vote.
Huh?
I'm saying that Luke can't vote.
Yeah, but Emily
He
got to
can't
vote
vote.
on Dawn's appointment.
Then that was done in error. Because he can't.
Well,
vote on-
because if Emily hadn't voted, I don't think there was enough people there that night for Dawn to.
That may be the case. I don't know the answer to that. I'm simply telling you that it's my legal opinion that he cannot vote for his own replacement. Because in order to do so, there has to be a vacancy, and there's no vacancy.
I'm not an attorney. All I know is that that Emily did in fact vote for Dawn.
If that was done in error, and I don't want to repeat it.
Which is why we need to address how some of this stuff is wrong.
That's not what I was getting at.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, I'm just saying, my vote is not against, mine's not for or against, I'll work with, I think I have the history here, I'm to go across, yeah, I'll work with anybody and everybody to get things done, I don't want anybody to take anything away personally when I vote, because it's just one of those, this is gonna be a hard one for me, so.
So, again, I'm gonna say I definitely agree with Bryce. I felt excluded out of the process. This is your fourth one. You just got done telling us how you were going to work with the council, and knowing Luke's absence, I thought was a great opportunity for you to work with the council and say, hey, similar to when the seventh seat was emptied, you asked us for recommendations. We didn't get anything from you. I'm concerned that you're not really looking to have inclusion with the council on this. And for me, that's concerning. The fact that we didn't get it until late Thursday, and then I think it's Friday or Saturday, we see a newspaper article. And then, like Scott said, I've gotten more phone calls, emails, and everything else above. You can't go out in general public without somebody stopping you about this, that's their every right, and it's my understanding of this seat that I'm a public servant. But again, I think it's a missed opportunity on your part, Mark, to work with the council on 7 months of decision-making for this seat.
Right, I appreciate that, but, I do appreciate that, but Luke, you announced your resignation on May 7th, right? Second. So we're talking about just a few weeks timeline, and in that period of time, I had an opportunity to interview a couple of folks, and one specifically that she's every box. So that's for me. That's in the charter. Is like the mayor nominates somebody, and again, I have it. Maybe there's been a different process with 4 different individuals. I don't know that I talked to people about Don. Where I did about Ed, and Ed had expressed a desire not to run, and we knew that we had had a contest taking place in the 7th Ward. Everything's a little bit different, right? There's, it's not apples to apples. And in this particular case, we're talking about just a couple of weeks, and having interviewed 3 folks and having determined that, certainly one of them, really kind of fits the bill very well for that 7-month period. Was pretty comfortable, and don't know that there was, I didn't see a rationale for asking anybody for, other names. It quite honestly didn't cross my mind. I felt like, here we got somebody who's really good. And it's not 3 years and 7 months, it's 7 months. Yes, Don?
I never was on a legislative body before, so I'm not quite sure how it all works. I'm learning. It seems to me that as the mayor, you have to kind of count the votes in advance, ask people, poll them. I don't know if that's even legal, but it seems to me that would be a good idea. Basically lobby council members and say, this is what I would like to do, what do you think? And that, not only in nominating replacements for members of the council who are resigning, but for big items that come before us. I've heard that your most important, I heard it put this way, your most important job is to learn how to count to 5. I think I made that up. It's not advice, but I'm asking a question. Is that a normal procedure?
I think we always are counting votes in our heads, but I think this council knows too, that I rarely will pin somebody down on their vote. In fact, never pin somebody down.
I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah, so but to
that
answer
you're
your question, yeah,
discussing-
you always are counting votes. And again, in the case of Elaine Mosher-Campoli, I'm talking about, and I'm sorry, we're talking about Jersey sitting here, but I'm talking about a candidate who checks every box, is really as qualified as anybody that I could have found out there. I really feel that that's the case. And so, you know, in all previous votes, I do believe that if it hasn't been unanimous, it's been awfully close to unanimous. So it really, what didn't cause me much concern or agita. Here's a very good candidate, respected in the community, would be a perfect addition, at least for 7 months to this council, if not longer. And my sense is that, you know, that is a pretty strong argument for her nomination, which is what the charter says the mayor does.
No, I wasn't asking about this particular nomination, I was asking about.
If I count votes.
Well, I was suggesting that when important items come before the council, that somehow it's discussed somehow, in some form. I don't know what that forum or form would be. It's more of a question than anything else.
Yeah.
That's good. So, how do you,
Okay, please.
I move to postpone consideration of this item to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the common council.
oh, she's got the cheat sheet out.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's not, it is debatable, simple majority.
But I think if you look at it, you can also call for a vote that we vote on it, and by 2/3 majority, we can say yes, there's no more discussion, then we gotta vote on it. According to that cheat sheet.
We can talk about it if we want to, but that's my motion.
All right, so that's a motion that's on the
Reconsider.
floor. We did not,
Next meeting.
we have a motion that's already on the floor. Did we not?
There's been a motion that's been made and seconded, and you're currently in discussion on the motion.
Right.
So I can't move to reconsider, or move to consider the next one?
You can make a motion to table. And that's a non-debatable motion.
All right, I'll do that.
But I wasn't.
No, you,
Let's
listen, you're
run through
here to guide us. I
I
learn
think
from
the
you
answer
every
is,
day.
there's the motion that's made and seconded.
Okay,
There's been discussion, you can make a motion to table.
Okay.
Motion to table is non-discussable.
I move to table.
Second.
Councilmember Murphy?
No.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
No.
Councilmember McHugh?
No.
Councilmember LaFarge Shu?
Aye.
Councilmember Carson?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wooden?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Just for clarification, we're voting to.
Table motion.
Table motion.
To next meeting.
Next meeting.
Well, no, you table it until it's taken
Well, right,
off.
we can take it off the table at any time.
All right.
Wait, what did Dawn
What was the
say?
vote?
Yeah, I didn't
Voted yes, it passes.
Couldn't hear.
So, but are we going to now discuss, my understanding was that we're now going to continue to discuss the way forward, is that?
No, we're done with that motion.
I don't think Don understands what he's voting for.
Well, you
Well, then that's on me, if I wasn't, that's correct, I misunderstood what I was voting for, but I've already voted, so
We still have an
Take it back.
executive session.
Good luck.
Okay.
Shame on you.
So, then I guess we need to move to go to executive session, discuss, negotiations, that's what we're saying. And who do you want in?
This one?
Yeah, you bring it back up.
Yeah. We can bring it back on off the table this meeting, because already was so inclined. But
I'm confused as to what just happened.
It's the motion
Katie, you
Yeah.
said you sent us this, so you go to executive session?
Yes, I second going to executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just trying to.
Jenny, can you stay with us, please? Thank you.